Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 122 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
Did you say H.A.M Radio Podcast? It sounded like
yeah,
Tam.
yeah. I went to say
No,
podcast, but then I was like, H.A.M.
That's what we're doing. We are now doing the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it is me, the LoneVaultWanderer.
And it's me, Karak from ACG. This is going to be one of those, I can already tell.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, we loosened up for a good half hour beforehand. Got the jaw muscles working,
and
then I fuck up right away. Anyway, as always, if you want to support the show, consider donating to the Patreon. Like I said, YouTube enjoys ending careers, so your donations matter more than ever at this point in time. And now, let's dive into our first news topic of the week. A lot of Final Fantasy 15 stuff rolling out. We got a PC version that will also have mod support. We have a Pocket Edition coming to the phones, which is the apparently full game of Final Fantasy 15, probably more directed experience. And now we also got the announcement that Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy are teaming up. And in Final Fantasy 15, there is now going to be an event called the Assassin's Festival. And it looks insane because you literally get this Assassin's Creed-like outfit with your entire group of people, and you can climb up these big buildings and stuff, jump off, do assassinations and all this different type of stuff, same animations. It looks really interesting. But yeah, a lot of Final Fantasy 15 stuff this week. So I'd say, considering, you know, we talk about Bethesda a lot, that's a prominent modding community. Let's talk about Final Fantasy 15 on the PC first and the idea of mods being on a game like this. The potential.
Can you mod out for 4K textures so I can download it?
Yeah, right. 180 something gigabytes.
Is it actually 160 gigs, or did they say that was a mistake?
No, it's 100. If it's 4K, that makes total sense. And I heard a rumor that you might have a DLC dongle where you can, or dongle where you can click it and you can switch off downloading those. Okay. But I would assume that's not actually true. We'll have to wait and see. I'm excited for anything that's Final Fantasy 15 because it's one of the few I've liked. So to me, it's going to be cool, both versions. This mobile version though. So explain something to me. Mm-hmm. Is it true that they basically, it's pretty much not Final Fantasy 15. It's like just the final part. It's just like the story, and that's it. All the side stuff's cut out.
Yeah.
That saddens me a little bit. Because I like the side stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they do it on a phone. I mean, they've been doing so much ridiculous stuff. I've been having a lot of discussions with my subscribers about a video where I said, like, Final Fantasy 15 is kind of getting that Skyrim treatment. They're like, hold on, Matty, like, I think it's a little bit of an overreaction, which I get what they're saying because, like, Skyrim's been out for so long. You look at Final Fantasy 15, it hasn't even been a year yet. But it's just that we're seeing so much tie-in material, so much spin-off material. It's in Forza Horizon. It's inescapable, kind of like how Skyrim was or how Fallout was, where you'd see it in Rocket League, for God's sakes. But yeah, this Pocket Edition is what they're calling it. Is just the main story. It's got this interesting, different art style. It seems to still have that action-like combat system. It's it's like a bunch of Final Fantasy 15 chibis running around. It's really. It's different,
It is.
I don't know who was really asking for it, but it's free, I think, so I don't know if anyone's complaining. It'll be interesting to see, because I haven't looked into the structure of the game itself, where is it like a Fallout Shelter, where it's just literally a game that they want you to play, and for it to be popular and maybe pay for itself over time?
Are they shaped like ice cream cones or something? Like their upper body's bigger than their smaller body? Or the lower body?
Oh, yeah, their heads are fucking gigantic.
That's so a lot of times, just so you know, that'll be done to save polygons because like feet and legs take a lot. Mm-hmm. So the upper body torso can be a lesser amount and still be bigger and still look good. But that look that I saw, I didn't think that was real. That's how weird it looks, to be honest. I saw it and I thought
no.
It was a joke.
You know where I saw it? I saw it was Jason Schreier tweeted out a picture as a joke of like the whole solar eclipse thing happening, and when people look up at the sun, that's what they start to see, characters and polygons. So I thought he was making a joke, but that was actually the game.
No, that's what, honestly, so that's awesome, because more than one of us thought it was a joke. It looks that different to me.
Mm-hmm. But about mods, what do you guys think about that? Another game supporting mods. We're seeing The Witcher 3 start to get more mods. Now Final Fantasy 15 is doing it. They announced it right alongside the version 4 PC that they're going to be doing mods. I think it's excellent that we're seeing it in more games now. You know, this is.
Are they just are they actively supporting it with like a creation kit?
I guess that's
thing?
what I'm asking. That's what I'm wondering.
That I'm unsure of.
Or like their page inside the game versus maybe a launcher.
Yeah, because games usually can have mods, in any event. But the
Yeah.
question is whether the dev actually supports it.
Well,
Like,
I'm imagining...
not just says it's okay, but also says here's a kit for you to make mods with.
Yeah, you might want to might want to check on that. Just I know alongside the announcement they were saying like, yeah, we're going to be supporting mods. So I don't know if they're going to be just saying like we're actively promoting whatever fans make. I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. But for the developers and publishers to come out and say like, yeah, we want mod support on the game. I guess that's a good thing, right? Especially given what happened with GTA 5 and Take-Two.
You know what they could do though, Matty? They could fix the one thing that I had a problem with, and that's the fact that half of the game, which involves like fucking, cooking, it has the worst textures known to man. So the first mod I would love to see is to fix the fucking omelets.
I can see it now. Realistic foods.
I want realistic food. No,
I can see it now.
Number one. Dude,
I'm sorry. Immersive foods.
Nasty immersive foods.
Yep.
It was fucking grotesque when you first saw one of the foods. You're like, what is that supposed to be? So my hope is that, here's what he says. Final Fantasy 15's director is acutely aware of the importance of mod support to PC players in general. Oh, yeah, it is in general. They're just saying, it sounds like they're just not going to fight them. So I would assume we'll see texture mods first, of course.
Yeah.
Which is good.
It's usually actually so it would be realistic foods to make it look better, but then you'd have another mod called immersive foods that'll make the eating animations better, that'll make the food go off after a little bit, that you could see like the steam come up from the food. So that'll be great.
I mean, this is one of those game universes that mods could be really interesting for. Like for example, I could see them putting in other Final Fantasy characters into the combat system in general. That'd be interesting. Because, I mean, for God's sakes, we saw a mod for The Witcher 3, I think it was, where Geralt was skateboarding or something along those lines. And it was just ridiculous. So I'm like, dude, let's go. I want to see some crazy mods for Final Fantasy, especially when they're kind of doing it already, man. I mean, an Assassin's Creed event is coming as free DLC.
Yeah, isn't that... I mean, Assassin's Creed, Final Fantasy is like... That is a weird mix.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad. That's the thing to me. I didn't think it looked too bad. And like they had in Final Fantasy 15, this is the most shocking thing. They had, I guess this is the point, right? But it looked just like Assassin's Creed. Like Noctis was hiding inside a hay thing, and he reached out, grabbed the guy by the collar of his shirt, pulled him in, stabbed him in the neck, and hit him inside. It was insane. He did like the same aerial assassination, landed on someone. I just couldn't believe it. It looked identical to an Assassin's Creed game. I don't know, man. I guess that's the point, right? But
so yeah, they say their comment is we definitely want to do it. We haven't actually managed to get our full modding policy or discussions on that finished yet at the moment, but we really want to do it while full details around autumn. They've yet to confirm if mod support will arrive at launch or sometime later, noting that development progress will determine this. It would be interesting to me if the mods come in the way of, like, what they sort of come in the way of, because there are issues with that game, and one of the things I'd like to see is like the invisible walls go away, which I fucking hate. I mean, there's few things in this world where if I'm riding a fucking giant bird, that's fantasy enough, but you're telling me there's an invisible wall. It's like, come on.
You're gonna have big mountains. It's the best thing.
So I would like to see some of the small stuff get fixed in those kind of games. I'm actually sort of a fan of where it's a little hard to do, because sometimes it requires more like brunt from the mod maker, and so they don't do the nude mod instantly, but instead like do the.
But that's gonna happen.
We need to fix this shit. Yeah, it'll happen, but I like the idea of people like making those smaller changes to the little niddling things that you were playing it and you were like, damn.
The best thing that they should do, and who knows whether they're actually going to work with mod makers on this, but Bethesda did this with Fallout 4, is have an unofficial, it's called unofficial patch or something like that,
Yeah.
where it fixed a lot of little things, but combined together, it fixed a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And that would be, especially for a bigger game, that's always welcomed by the community. But then someone would be like, well, why isn't the developer doing it? They should be doing it themselves. And
I miss that Final Fantasy was going to have a first-person mode in this, too. Wait, what?
The fuck?
Final Fantasy games are third person, and 15 is no exception. The PC launch will change this. However, Square Enix is adding a first-person mode to the game.
They're GTA 5 in this shit.
Players
cool.
can also explore the world of, what was it, EOS?
Yes.
I'm sorry, how did...
EOS.
Through Noctis's eyes in an all-new first-person mode.
First person's so much better.
That combat's going to be really, really strange.
Quite how well this will work with the ludicrously rapid combat system remains to be seen.
There you go.
You know what? I say fucking just do it. I say just put it in there. Let's get that shit in there because that would be fun.
It's just a new way to play the game, man.
Yeah.
I always prefer first person.
See, I'd love to see them fix like the magic system. That's one thing I had a big problem with is you had to like go to a stone and extract lightning or fire and then craft it and throw the spell, and I'm like, that's not Final Fantasy. Like Final Fantasy is casting all these different spells, Kira, Suna, and you can make all those, but you like put them into a magic ball. I just love for a modder to create a way where it's like, you know, maybe those you just have infinite spells, but there's like a recharge time that you can only use them like once a minute or something along those lines. Just overhauling the magic system, because I think that would make the game immensely better, because the combat late game, when you're fighting like level 99 creatures, gets really challenging, especially if you're going in close, and the magic isn't too optimal because I think the system just kind of sucks. So you find yourself often stuck in battles where you're just going down, using a Phoenix down, getting back up, dying, and just repeating that process until the fight's over, and it becomes really tedious. Lone, have you played, you haven't played this, but have you considered playing FFXV?
Honestly, no. And here's why. It seems like every week there's a new Final Fantasy game. There are too many fucking numbers, and it's... I don't want to say it's overwhelming, but let's say I'm a relatively casual, just gamer, right? How the hell do I know where to start with Final Fantasy?
I completely agree.
I look, you know, the Final Fantasy 15 that just came out, and there's just so many. And I believe, so even as a gamer, I don't even know. There are the regular numbers, and then there are offshoots within each of them.
Not
Is that correct?
Not each of them.
Not every single one of them, but some of them.
Some of them, yeah.
It's
like
confusing as fuck.
7 had a couple of, you know, one-offs.
Yeah, exactly.
10 did. 13 did. You know, that I would be surprised if 15 didn't.
But I guarantee you, though, this is without even looking, someone's created a best how-to-play Final Fantasy list or guide online to say, you should start with this and move on from there. It gets a little confusing sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, are you talking about the order?
Just the numbering. It's just there's 15 of them.
Yeah, there's like, here's 12, here's 12.2, here's 12, but it's actually the preload to 13, but not 14, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
See, I think 7 can be the most confusing, because you had 7 come out first, then all of a sudden Crisis Core came out on the PSP, and then they had Advent Children, but Crisis Core is before the first one. It's just, what are they doing? But, I mean, all those games are excellent, and that movie. But yeah, just so you know, Lone, just for future's sake, if ever a Final Fantasy game catches your interest, I guess, is that they're, like, you don't have to play, for example, 13 or 14 to understand 15. Like, each one's its own individual story.
So literally, none of them are sequels to each other.
No, and if they are, it'll be like, for example, 13-2, 13-3, Lightning Returns, or 10-10-2. That's what they do.
Yeah, well, look, someone on IGN has this is the best way to play, but it's pretty old. So
I would say that's why it's confusing, right, Lone? Because to me, that's confusing too, that they're not sequels a lot of times.
Well, that's the other thing I was trying to hammer away.
Weird,
is that with this ton of spin-offs and, you know, the Pocket Edition, the PC Edition, that's normal, especially when it's got console editions, but all this DLC, all these events, and then you got Final Fantasy, what was it, New Empire or something on phones too, like, it's like people are just going to look at it and be like, okay, I want to know where to start because this game looks good, but I don't know if I got to play these first or this first, or if I even need that. It's confusing for new fans, I think.
What's the other game? Kingdom Hearts has been that way sometimes with its naming.
Something
I'm just
like,
nice. yeah.
It's just ridiculous. But yeah, I totally agree. Kingdom Hearts, we've talked about it before, how fucking convoluted that series is.
So look, this is someone literally their recommendation on how to play Final Fantasy, how best to play, what order: 13, 9, 1, 7, 5, 12, 6, 11, 2, 10, 8, 4, 14, then 3. That just in and of itself is ridiculous.
Are they saying
I
like?
I have no clue how that. What the fuck?
Yeah,
man?
what story? Wait, are they talking about the story? Or are they just saying?
I don't know. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Whatever.
and a little update. Later, Square did say Final Fantasy 15 will have Steam Workshop support. That is a good. That's
excellent.
That's
okay.
excellent right there. So we have at least that much data. Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. I mean, I don't care about the order date. I'll never go back to the older ones, but
yeah,
I do think that at some point. At some point, I really wish everybody did this, and I joked with you guys about it for a reason. But like last time on Alan Wake, I really do wish. I wish there was like a primer somebody made at a company when they have that many games. The company, and they were like, "Hey, everybody, you're brand new to games," but nobody remembers that people just bought a system yesterday. Like everybody thinks everybody has all this contained, like knowledge, and they don't. And it'd be nice to see Square say, "Okay, fuck, man, you know what? We fucked up a couple times. Let's sit down and we'll describe to you the best order in which to play these and what you're going to do."
Not even just that. I mean, do you know who I think is doing a great job now as to Wales a testy pop restarting a franchise? Is
What did you just call it?
It's a testy pop. That's what we call them in
testy
Australia.
pop?
What do you call them in America?
A voice crack?
Testicles.
Now it's testicles.
Holy fuck,
we
that's
call it
amazing.
testy pop.
I'm not making fun of you. That's amazing.
No, this
I
is not
gotta
the
tell
first
people.
time this has happened.
I
I think on stream I said, "Oh, I had a testy pop," and everyone's yelling at me like, "Lone, what the fuck did you just say?" But getting back to it, I think Ubisoft is doing a great job with AC Origins in terms of just restarting the franchise and saying, "Look, this is where it all begins. We're going to start fresh. We're not going to number this game, and." Even though we have all these other games that are AC2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, 4, all this shit, I think they've done a great job in just getting rid of that number system and saying, we're going to start from here. Right.
Yeah. I was telling my friends about testy pops.
You had to get that out there.
Yep.
I think they probably are as well. I don't know. We'll have to see. Or the reason why I'm saying that is because the stuff I've seen on Origins looks fucking terrible, and I'm an Assassin's.
Really?
I'm sort of an Assassin's Creed. Everything from the fighting anime, technically, it's a fucking mess. And one of the reasons why I'm getting pissed and I sound like I'm getting mad is because lately, about the past 3 years, I've started to notice a lot of previews sound like the Lego song, "Everything is awesome." And you're just like, but that's not really it. And it's not. And the people that I've talked to who've actually, anyway, sorry, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm a little bit nervous about that title. I want it to succeed and I would love a reboot, but I'm not 100% sure it will be that. We'll see.
Well,
okay.
I love the idea. But some of the stuff I saw on a couple streams looked fucking horrendous. And I don't mean like, can a game magically like make you look like or make you feel like you're in a new place? Primal did that, and Matty still hated Primal for other reasons, right? That's sort of what's going on here. Is like I was just trying to give an example of a game that looks really good in certain points, but doesn't necessarily play well and doesn't
Order
necessarily
1886.
Or there you go, Order 1886. And I can't wait to be wrong because everybody knows Syndicate, fucking goddamn Rogue. Both of those I love. So I'm crossing my fingers on that one. And if they succeed, I'd like to see more reboots of some of these where they don't continue adding numbers, but they're like, okay, we're gonna, J.J. Abrams universe.
I mean, initially, I think Halo was going down that path. The last Halo game was going to drop the numbering entirely, and then they're like, all right, well, from now on, we'll have the numbering because apparently people got upset. We'll say Halo X and then give a little description. So it'll be like Halo 6, Legend of the Chief, or something like that, right?
Legend of the Chief. Oh, God.
I guarantee you'd get something like that. That just sounds like fun. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, next topic we're going to be talking about is Brink and how it went free to play over this past week. Real random decision by Bethesda.
More players than Lawbreakers by a giant amount.
Really?
Lawbreakers.
Oh,
They're more
dude.
than Lawbreakers and Battleborn combined.
It's more than Lawbreakers and Battleborn combined.
What?
Like,
But
by
the game's
8.
not even good.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Brink. TB and I talked about that on this podcast, and I was like, I'm not a huge fan of Brink. But we joked, and we were like, wouldn't that be funny if it was over Lawbreakers? And I was like, I think it actually is, and it is by a good
I
amount.
remember seeing the ads for it, and I went over to my friend's house to play. I'm like, oh yeah, the jumping over objects is cool, and then everything else is so bad.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
parkour in a game for no reason because they didn't put the game in, and you're like, this is the oddest
We
thing
were going to
I've
make
played in a
Mirror's Edge, but we wanted to add, gunplay. We forgot, though. Because
You know what it is?
Everything was
You know
bullet
this-
spongy in that game.
Yeah,
You know
very
those
bullets.
videos where people are parkouring and doing really cool tricks. Well, Brink is one of those games where they're doing cool tricks and then they die afterwards.
Yeah, right.
It's just not a good.
Yeah. The guys
just
who
collapse.
jump. Oh, dude, I get like tingles in my hands, like
Yeah,
seeing those
yeah, I don't
people who
wanna
like
talk
leap
to you.
off of buildings and like land on stair sets. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Tom
Insane.
Cruise in. He's Tom Cruise in it.
Yep.
Because Tom Cruise broke his ankle, right? Yeah, he broke his ankle
did.
doing
Yeah,
that
he did.
last week.
Production stuff.
Yeah, but I think that when you look at like Lawbreakers and you look at Brink's choice, Brink's also going up against Dirty Bomb, and Dirty Bomb's a better game.
But
I
that's
didn't-
kind of
I
the
didn't
horse
like
there,
it.
That was
hasn't
fun.
it?
It has fallen off the horse. I was just saying, I think that their idea is we have nothing else to do, so let's try free to play. Honestly, I think microtransactions might help them.
Or they could just be because look how old Brink is. There was probably no one playing it. They're like, why not? Let's just test it out and see.
Let's just-
World this.
It's
Let's
just like-
Let's just do it.
Fill
Okay.
it with microtransactions.
Obviously, I'm wrong when I say this because you said there are numbers of people playing it, but no one wanted this. I feel like,
Oh yeah.
Exactly, Matty. You just proved the point. No one wanted it, and they had a huge influx of numbers.
But you know what it was?
Which I think makes sense.
I
for
feel
them.
like kids just downloaded it as a meme. They was like,
It's
sucks.
not even that.
Let's
It's
see
not
how
even
bad
that
it
no one
is.
wanted it, right? It's not even just like no one wanted it. No one knew that they didn't want it because no one fucking remembers Brink.
and now people are talking about
Okay,
it.
yeah, no, that's true. It's just so.
Yeah,
are there
I'm-
microtransactions? Do they stand to gain anything, or are they just like, yeah, let's just give it away?
Like, can I be honest here? This is my guess, and I don't know what the hell has happened to this game, but this could be a test for Battlecry, wherever the fuck that game is.
Oh wow,
Not a
Battlecry!
bad guess.
Jesus,
I forgot about Battlecry.
Yeah,
that just stunned me. I had forgot
that was
all about
canceled.
that game.
I don't know, but we don't know. It could be a test for whatever comes from the cancelled development of Battlecry. But what happened to that game? There you go.
I don't know, man. That was a game that we talked about a lot too.
Yeah.
It had a cool
So,
art
look,
style.
Wait, Brink. Look, Brink has over 700,000 owners. All right, and in the last 2 weeks, there's been 37,000 plus or minus 5,000 people. So it's like it's not dead. Again, it's more than Lawbreakers.
And remember, it was at 800 prior to the
and it
so
shot
you're
up to
talking-
37,000.
Yeah. I mean, again, sometimes you don't do these kind of things unless you're in you're in the corner and you're getting your ass kicked and you decide to punch somebody in the balls to try to get yourself a breather. And that sort of Brink was like, we either die or we two worlds this bitch and we fill it with. I'm actually looking to see if
that's
we
a
can
good
get
example,
Two Worlds
actually. Two Worlds, yeah. That's a really good example of a game that just totally came back from the dead and gained a player base.
This is
Yeah.
from the same developer as Dirty Bomb, though, which is weird.
Wait, really?
Wait, what?
Splash Damage.
Oh,
Oh,
it is.
yeah. Didn't Splash Damage make Fuse?
And Batman Arkham Origins.
Those guys have had some problems. Well,
Yeah,
Batman.
I was going to say, they've made some... They've been all over the place, man.
They have. They're just like the crazy girlfriend. Yeah, I have no clue. I have no clue. They are all over the place. It just dawned on me. Arkham Origins, which I sort of liked. I know a lot of people
Doom
hated.
3
Yeah,
I like that
multiplayer.
game.
Yeah, Doom 3 multiplayer until they were pulled off.
They've
of
done
it.
a lot of they did Gears of War Ultimate Edition multiplayer too. So who
Wait,
knows?
they
I
did,
mean,
I'm sorry, they did what?
Gears of War Ultimate Edition, the multiplayer. They've done that.
Oh, that's okay. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Actually.
They helped out with Gears of War 4 too. There you go.
Dirty Bomb's good, man.
Interesting
I
times.
played a decent amount of Dirty Bomb for when I first got my new PC.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So, I mean, they're not all bad, but yeah, they've, like Karak said, they've got some troubles.
But look, I see this as like, why the hell not? I mean, you had a game that was floundering. No one was buying it. It had 800 players. Like, what's the harm here?
The fact that
to
800
turn a
people
free-to-play.
decide to spend their day playing Brink.
I mean, if those 30,000 people that downloaded it for free, each of which spent 50 cents, they've made money from it. Like,
marginal.
It's marginal, but again, I don't even think that's their concern here.
No,
it could be market
It's-
testing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's absolutely got to be a test.
Yeah,
You know,
it could be like maybe they're doing a Brink 2.
Okay,
Fuck
knows?
so right now, looking at Lawbreakers, you're talking. It's got a PCCU of 694, where Brink had. God damn it! I went away from Brink's page. Brink's page. That's concurrent. The top concurrent number of players.
Yeah.
And Dirty Bomb. Right, Dirty Bomb or Brink? Which one are we?
I thought we were
Dirty Bomb?
comparing- Yeah.
Dirty Brink is the one that just went full free to play.
Yeah.
And it's at almost 3,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I mean it's so weird. I guess they did. They must have just I always want to know what the developers had, like what numbers, because you know they're scouring through all their numbers, like what numbers they had, and decided Brink's. Just so you know, Maddie, here's why they did it. The PCCU prior was 13 people in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're now at almost 2,500, 3,000.
I just want to know how at Bethesda it comes up as a conversation topic. They're just sitting at a table. Anyone fucking remember Brink? No. And
Dude,
they like look up the numbers. They see 13 people. They're like, that's not respectable.
Let's make it free to play.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's the family reunion where you never invite the one uncle who's always drunk. It's just like you don't talk about it. You show up and people are like, Brink, and you're all, didn't somebody else make that? And they're like, no, I thought we did. I don't know. But anyway, those are good muffins. And you just talk about something else. 'Cause, I mean, sometimes a game doesn't work out. And I bet you they're like us, where you do a video and you're like, I'd rather not talk about that video right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we deleted that video. We should never.
Or
speak
on
with-
your resume, you just leave it open, and they're like, "So there was a 2-year period," and you're like, "Yeah, I had a heartburn. It was lasted
Europe for a sabbatical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess they're probably just doing it for sake of the. I don't know. They're just fucking doing it. We look too deep into things. Let's move on to the next piece of. Oh, you got more?
No.
I was just going to say that they did, and I think depending on the microtransactions in there, if there are, I'm sure there are, unless they just said it's free, which is also very cool. Either way, it also allows them to see, is there an audience? Get some more data on it and stuff like that. And data is always good for them to look at and go, oh, okay, people are liking this and not liking this. So.
Yeah, I think Lone was on the money with a test for the future, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, next bit of news, still revolving around Bethesda here. We're going to be talking about VR. Bethesda Game Studios made some VR-related announcements. Skyrim for the VR, or for the PSVR, I'm sorry, is coming out on November 17th. Fallout 4 VR is coming out exclusively for the HTC Vive, December 12th. And also in just Bethesda VR news, Doom VFR is coming out to the PSVR and HTC Vive on December 1st. So VR support's getting some pretty quality games, and big games at that.
I was reading a review of Skyrim VR, and the person was talking about, even though you can play the game with a controller, they played it standing up, and you had to do the whole, you click and point and you transport from place to place, otherwise you get sick VR thing. And they were just saying it's just like not the best way to play Skyrim. And even on its own, they weren't having a good time.
Interesting.
I don't know, man. Like for me, VR is it's still way too expensive. Even with the price drops and stuff, it's still like $1,000 plus to get Vive here or an Oculus here. If I want to get a PS4, you have to buy the console and get VR. But is one game like Skyrim enough for me to buy an entire new console and the headset? Nah, I have no interest in VR.
What would be really interesting, because one thing Bethesda does well is their world design in general, where you'll see like a street sign and it'll tell you exactly where something is. So what would be really cool is if you turned off the HUD entirely and played like Skyrim in VR.
That would be cool.
I think that would be really an interesting way to play. That's why I said when I tested out Fallout 4 VR, I said the only complaint I had was much like what that person, whatever article you were reading, I didn't like the teleportation either. And I thought they kind of got rid of it because when I was looking at the Fallout 4 VR trailer, it looked like they were walking around, but I could be wrong.
But it could have been a controller.
It most likely they'll have. I think now Steam is recommending 3 control modes at minimum for all VR games. Okay. So
all right, so
I would assume. And I will tell people, you're talking to somebody who actually legitimately puked after playing a VR game. So with Cadiz, who doesn't get sick, and he had to stop gaming that day. So, and over time, you do get, your brain sort of figures out, okay, this isn't real, and you get a little bit more accustomed to it. But some people will be sick no matter what in VR, even with not moving. It's crazy. I just had some people come over, and I was like, hey, check out the Vive, and sitting game, not really doing very much, and they were so fucking sick. It was like I felt like I had actually hurt the person, and they ended up going home. So I think you're going to have that all the time, and I think teleportation is a great way for some people to play. I don't like it too much, but I get why it's there, because some games, depending on what you're looking at, will make you sick. The problem with Fallout 4, to me, is that most of the time what you'll do is you'll frame, using graphics, you'll frame something that is stuck, and then your brain has a much better time. Well, what do you frame except for maybe a headpiece or a visor, and then you're sort of fucking it up anyway. Yeah, I played Skyrim VR with a mod back in the day on the Vive, and then I played it now recently, actually officially supported, and I have to say I really liked it, but that's just me. I mean, I don't know why.
Skyrim on the VR is going to be great.
And even the botched, shitty like patch that you have to get run in to get it to work on the VR headsets back in the day, it was pretty cool at times. It made me sick.
But here's the problem. I mean, now, like we've always said that the only way that VR is going to succeed is if we have AAAs getting their games on there. Yeah, I guarantee you, every major publisher is looking at how well Bethesda is going to be doing with Skyrim and Fallout VR and all that shit. And if they don't succeed, where's the incentive for third-party publishers to start releasing their bigger games on there?
It won't be. It'll be for a third party.
This seems like an experiment just by Bethesda, because let's try it and let's see how it goes. I mean, at the end of the day,
it is.
Yeah. They're good at, but PS4, is PSVR or whatever it's called. Yeah. I think it has like over 1 million headsets out there. That's your audience for Skyrim VR.
The problem is, and I'm a VR fan. Like, that's why I bought every headset, because I was a big fan. But the PSVR has some ancient tech in it, and when it comes with movement in particular, and the camera, you got to remember, it's just looking at you. And so its fidelity is thousands of times lower than a lighthouse. So I was just going to say, I think that people are testing, but I think what may happen is, we already know that there's 2 other third-party companies releasing headsets next year. I could see companies with a wireless headset and with one that looks a little better than the HTC releasing at a lower cost, and third parties looking at that as their next jumping in point, because I don't see the Vive or the Rift suddenly magically catching on again.
Well, and apparently HTC is trying to sell off its VR business too. So
really,
there are those rumors. Yeah,
that's interesting.
There were rumors of it for sure.
Fallout 4 exclusively. Then that's really strange.
Well, that's because there were rumors. No one knows why they were selling it. It's like Square Enix selling Hitman. Hitman's awesome and was making them money, and they sold it. So you can't really figure out.
True. You can't really be surprised by anything.
You know what, though? I do want to give a shout out. Wireless HTC Vive, pretty fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Dude, just the wire. That's the most disorienting thing for me, is when I'm moving around, I feel like 40 fucking wires on my shoulder. Oh.
And it works, man. Like, I put it on, and I was the first person to be like, no fucking way is this going to work. And after like just a couple seconds of playing the Dungeons and Dragons game that looks like Zelda. Oh, I can't remember. Mysterious Dungeon or something. And then the shooter, Pirate Trainer, and a couple others.
I don't even know the VR games, to tell you the truth.
The ability to move around without any cable going in the back of your head it changes how it feels, because your brain, it's one more step away from worrying about anything around you.
Yeah.
And it is fucking fun. Like, if Maddie came to my place, I would set you up either with wireless or the hangers. The new you can get the things that hang from the ceiling, so it's on a bungee, and it's a little easier to take as well. So
I can imagine just a side view of you sitting there with like the wire from your head looking like some fucking alien.
Feel like fucking Sector from Mortal Kombat or something.
Exactly what you look like. Like, you think that's the thing with VR. You have to turn off your fucking cool meter. You have to be like, I'm going to look sweaty. The headset's going to be nasty when you grab it from me. And we're just gonna all have to be okay, like you know, like you're huddled together for warmth.
Being in a locker room, a bunch of you guys on the same team.
Have to, like, we will not talk of it tomorrow, but today let's have fun.
What happens in VR stays in VR. Damn it.
It's true.
How about Doom VR though? I thought that was probably, you know, that seems like a good fit because a lot of the games we've been seeing go to VR are these first-person shooter arena style games, but Doom can kind of do that where, you know, you enter those, I call them challenge rooms, where, you know, you gotta like destroy the hive and you're getting attacked by 40 fucking demons. And with the teleportation in that game and being able to mow down all these enemies with different kinds of weapons and still go through an actual story mode that was pretty good, I think this is an excellent fit for VR. And this is for both PSVR and HTC Vive.
Look, I don't disagree. Like, look, I think VR at the end of the day is a very cool concept. Like, the time that I tried it, it was PSVR, and you were mentioning something before about fidelity, Karak. I mean, especially when you're used to PC gaming, you chuck PSVR right up to your eyes, you notice the, you know, the aliasing. It's really,
you see like the lines
really
almost.
bad. But yeah, no, you can tell like the jagged edges of the textures and all that kind of stuff. But I still think it's cool and I still think it has potential, but it's a chicken and the egg argument here.
Yeah.
I mean, and you talked about Doom. I think Doom would be amazing in VR. I mean, how much fun would that be? You know, shoving that up to your face and believing you're actually shooting down demons. It'd be sweet. But the question is, are those games enough for me to buy a VR headset? Probably not.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. What blows me away that developers have not done, because Doom is a dark game, even in its light moments. And it blows me away because if you play any bright games, Everspace being one, Everspace is a fairly bright space shooter that works with VR. And a bright screen helps so much because the dark pixel lines that you see get blurred out by the light coming from the screen. And so the difference between, like, let's say Elite Dangerous and Everspace is night and day. The what's the Double Fine game I reviewed? Psychonauts something in time or whatever. Oh, I can't remember, but it's a VR Double Fine game, and it was cartoony and bright, and it looked really good. So what I would like them to do is fix the sub-pixel issue, which PSVR does somewhat, but and then add your resolution, and then just release it at a much cheaper price point. There's nothing else that gets people to more interested. Look at Xbox One X. It's launched for a little bit less than I think some people thought, and it's the highest pre-order set. It's fucking selling out everywhere. I think price matters more than people fucking think, or not people. You know, like companies, they need to start. It's got to be the razor and the fucking razor blades. They got to go back to that because in the old day when they did, more people were able to take a chance. No one can take a chance. If every fucking company is selling at super high prices, you can't take a chance anywhere. And I would love to see a Vive at fucking, I know this is going to sound crazy to people, but like $200 for the headset and one lighthouse, which it does have a single mode, and no things. So somebody can say, okay, I just want to go in with a controller. Like, call it the controller.
And that's fine. And I know people, like, usually you read reviews and people are like, well, it's the best way to play it is without the controller and stuff. I'm like, but you're talking about gamers that are used to, for so many years,
SLI
playing with a controller. You know what I mean? So
sure.
If they want to be able to have a lower price point, lower entry point, and just experience VR, even if it's with a controller, one, they're comfortable with a controller, so that might be a good transition point. And two, they're not spending another $100 to $200 on this motion controller, which, do they really need to be able to experience VR? No, they do not.
And I will say, I think a killer app, I think some of these games have already been killer apps too, and they just, because of the number of people buying the systems, they can't become a killer app. There's just not enough. But I will say one thing. I sometimes wonder if it's going to be something social. And the reason why is we played Dungeons & Dragons 2 weekends ago in VR. And we used something called VR Chat, which allows for people to create levels in 3D you can walk around.
That is fucking genius.
Dude, you have no fucking clue how cool this is. Like, I thought it was going to be stupid. And you can use your telephone in Google Glass or just any telephone if you use VR Bridge. or you use your Vive. So I was like, let's go in here. And we walked around. I identified the different levels that would make sense as a story. And I'm like, okay, I'm the DM. And it has like thumbs. It doesn't have thumbs up, thumbs down yet, but it's got like smiley face. It's got some emoticons. But the cool thing is, it's got a shit ton of avatars, including monsters, but it also has the ability to get a link to download their program to create your own avatar and then upload it to your database on your own system, and then it goes out to the game. So we were playing D&D, and like there was an orc standing there. There was like a dude who looked like Neo from the Matrix. There was, and you were just like, okay, what?
So I gotta ask, because I just started playing D&D about a month, 2 months ago, maybe month and a half ago. How do you build these levels? So let's say my campaign says we're going to an ice cavern.
Then there's probably an ice cavern because there was like 2,000 levels. But if there isn't, then they have Unity, and it's a download, and you can create it with assets from the store for like 99 cents. Like dude, I'm not. This is no joking around. Like I thought it was going to be cheesy because I'm a big fan of no miniatures. I'm a big fan of just people at a table. It's a lot of cerebral stuff. So I was like, I don't know if I want graphics show, like a door being where I don't want it to be, whatever. We went into a bar. They have a bar with music playing, like jazz and fucking drink sounds, like, and we started the game there. And I mean, people with just little cell phones were like, this is the fucking cool. I can see him like walk over there, and then I can change my avatar at any time. So I was becoming NPCs like with one button. You're just like doom, 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 and you're gonna work. And then you're like,
you can approach the player and
and I even emailed him and I said, do you have a dice roller? And he's like, why? And I'm like, well, dude, a lot of us want to play D&D. We record it for YouTube. And the developer responded. He's like, I'm on it. He's like, that is legitimately an awesome idea. So if you get a chance, check it out. Because you can even check it out with your normal cell phone right now using VR Bridge.
I definitely will, because I love D&D. And like I was thinking to myself, like, how could you, I wouldn't say bring it to life, right? But like really, you can put yourself there in your head and with like a really cool table setup. But, like, I mean, that sounds like what I've been trying to think of.
Dude, I got to tell you, there's one level right when he ended, we were done. And I saw this level and it said, like, statue in sand. And I was like, oh, maybe it's like Planet of the Apes or something. I loaded it up, which is another positive. It loads incredibly fast. I loaded up the new level, and it was the coolest thing I think I've ever seen. And it was so basic, but all it was like a desert landscape with this giant, like, 10 stories tall, stuck into the sand and like trying to get out of the sand, but he was massive and he was like screaming. And I was like, do you know how fucking amazing this would have been for like a sci-fi game to start here or end here as the last battle or end here as the last puzzle?
Wow.
I mean, there is so fucking much cool stuff people who are social can do. And that's what I'm wondering if somebody will go, oh, you know what? Like it may be a game, but let's make it easy for a DM. Let's put a couple of these. Let's make it easy for this group and see where it goes from there, because there was a lot of people in there. Oh, there was a shit ton of people in there. So
that's epic.
Check it out.
That's a VR title that gets me excited. I don't think the problem is with the titles. I think it's just that we need to see games start supporting it alongside their launch. Like we saw it with Resident Evil. That was a really good fit. But like, for example, we're seeing Final Fantasy 15 add a first-person mode. Instead of doing a fishing VR game, it would be interesting just to, why not put it in VR too? I mean,
all racing games should have it.
Yeah, exactly. All racing games, absolutely. I think that's a must.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a good step forward. Bethesda taking a chance, maybe setting a standard, or rather less of a standard, but letting other companies see how their experiment does, seeing if it increases unit sales at all. And maybe we'll start seeing more VR support now. That fucking Dungeons and Dragons VR. I gotta check that out.
VR chat, and you need VR Bridge for your cell phone to work. And even with that, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay. You should do it like ASAP, because it is pretty.
No, I'm doing it like after this, because my friends and we're starting a new campaign in like a month. So
gotcha.
So I definitely gotta look into that. Next piece of news on the other side of the industry, less about the Western games and more about those JRPG. Actually, this isn't a JRPG, I'm sorry, but just the Japanese game in general. Attack on Titan 2. The game was revealed and is going to be releasing early 2018. Dude.
You talk about it, Karak. I'm out of this.
Oh, do you not know? Did you play it?
No.
Have you even watched it?
No, I've watched it. Yeah.
Okay.
But you guys can take it away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you can speak on it to some extent.
Yeah, I can't even remember half of what I saw, but I do know naked giants without dicks running around is always fun.
How do they have sex?
Yeah, I don't want to know. But yeah, it was, I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it.
See, I'd say last year, was it last year that the first Attack on Titan game came out, I think?
Yeah.
That was one of the more surprising games I played. That was absolutely a hidden gem in my book, because I remember a lot of shows I watch, I think to myself, okay, like, how can I make a game about this? Like, I've been watching Daredevil lately. I'm like, what would make a really cool Daredevil game? But anyway, back on topic.
To be a Batman game.
Yeah, right. With Attack on Titan, I always looked at it and I'm like, how do you get this gameplay down? How do you get the traversal down? It's just so many different things going into it. And it had been tried, I think, twice before. Like, one of them was a 3DS game, or it might have been once before. And, you know, then we see this new one coming out, and I'm like, I don't know if it's going to work well. And the combat was fantastic. It was just like the TV show. The art style matched the TV show. You know, the resource management, that was a really cool addition to the game. It could get grindy for players, I think, because you kind of go into the same maps and do the same thing. But, I mean, that combat was so satisfying, especially with online co-op with your friends. That was such a good game. And so I'm really excited to see they're doing a second one about the second season already. I thought that was going to be like 2019 by the time they announced it.
Did they say what, like, if there are any improvements or changes to systems? Have they got that far?
Just an announcement of the game with a reveal trailer. And, of course, Aaron Yeager's fucking screaming his head off the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's weird that these Dynasty Warriors games, or ones built like them, have started taking IPs that aren't theirs and actually done a good job with them versus just using them for their IP. So the more of these that we see, the more chance of seeing ones I'm really super interested in, because I wasn't a big... I'm not an anime fan, so I think that kind of, or most, but I think that all I wish them is luck, because if they do, then we'll start to see more of these. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff that I think a Dynasty Warriors style game can do, and that engine,
Absolutely.
Like they just haven't. Sometimes I just don't think they pick the right choices. I think that was a good choice, and then there was the Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I never played that one. Dragon Quest
dude.
Heroes.
It was insanely good. The first one, at least I thought, for that kind of game. We got to remember, they're not great games.
Yeah, it's on like a different standard. It's case by case basis.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's good, man. It's good. I'm glad to see him do it. And I'm glad to see him do it quickly versus 5 years from now.
It's interesting because we're seeing changes with the style of game those Dynasty Warrior games are becoming, because the 9th one is going to be open world. Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, that's a really interesting choice. So
ride your horse around China until it dies, because you're not going to be able to cross it. Like, I don't... It's going to be weird. Are the people just going to be behind you, like, and you're just running the entire time? But if you're not, and you're on a horse, do they run behind you?
I'm dying to see how they do it.
Yeah.
Because it could be a train wreck, or they could do something really smart, and you're like, all right.
Matty, here's how they do it. They do it like a train wreck on purpose. Yeah. So, like, you're on your horse, and those dudes are just behind you running, and just, like, don't get too serious about it, right? Because it can't be serious.
Yeah, you're taking out 20 guys in a single slash of a spear. Like, can't be realistic. But yeah, so what I'm thinking is, like, with that format, it's going to be interesting to see what IPs they take on. And are they going to apply, like, okay, now we not only do, like, these big beat-em-up games, but we also do open world alongside them. Because, I mean, what I've noticed personally is that these Dynasty Warriors style games always are really good for fan service, like Hyrule Warriors. And so I think it's just another opportunity for, you know, a developer or a publisher to find a good partner and make something special. So we could go on all day about X Warriors and just fill in that X with any title you want and how cool it would sound.
What about Lone? So Lone says he hasn't played. Have you played any of them, Lone? The Dynasty Warriors games?
Dynasty, Samurai Warriors,
and is it because of the reason why I assume is that they look and play a certain way?
No, it's
okay.
the exact same reason why I haven't played many other games, because I went through a period where I just didn't play many video games, and like, all right, so let's put it this way, I went through a period, it was Xbox 360 period, which was stupid, and I regret this shit, but all I ever played was Call of Duty, and I'm assuming a lot of people did that too. And then I got to a period where I was in university, so I didn't play many games, so I couldn't play many things. And when I did, I'd play Fallout all the damn time. And then, like, when I started working as a full-time job and doing YouTube, I didn't really have time for games. Now I'm actually playing games because I'm making sure I stream. So I'm like, really, it's been in the past year that I'm actually catching up on games that I've always wanted to play. So when people are like, Lone, you got to play Mass Effect, I'm like, yes, it's on my list. I'm getting there. You got to play this. And the way that I'm getting rid of my backlog, and I think this is the best way for anyone that feels like they're out of the loop with video games, look what's coming out, in the following year, and play the games preceding to get ready for that game. So, for example, let's say it's Wolfenstein 2. Play the original Wolfenstein. Let's say it's Evil Within 2. Play Evil Within. Let's say it's Assassin's Creed Origin. At the very least, play the first Assassin's Creed and the Ezio trilogy. You know what I mean? And then when those games come around, you can play them.
Like 100+ hours of gameplay.
Not really, not necessarily.
Well, maybe not the first one. I'm sorry, but 2 is long. 2, you don't think 2 Brotherhood? Brotherhood's fucking long.
2's like 20, but depends how you play.
Yeah,
if you're not 2's like 20 hours. But I'm saying, like, you can look at games that are coming out, play games to get ready for them, and then when those come in, the new games come out, you play them and you feel like you're still in with the community. You can talk about that game with everyone else. You don't feel excluded. That's the way I'm approaching video game playing nowadays, and it's working out really, really well. So for instance, another game, Shadow of War. I played Shadow of Mordor. And now when that game, I know. But when that game comes out, I can talk about it with everyone. So that's why, I haven't played many different games, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, I'd like to see agree. Somebody like yourself play one. Because the reason why is because they're not B tier. I don't even know, Matty, what you call a fucking
it's
Dynasty
just a league
Warriors.
of its
own. It is. They're cookie cutter, but at the time there's just enough like fan service, or there's just enough cool combat that some people like. It's very odd that they're still being made
satisfying. It's like your brain's like, this is the same thing, Matt. You're killing 900 enemies. You're hitting the square and triangle button.
It's like, and I'm killing 900 enemies.
Yeah, I'm like, but I am devastating them in the coolest way possible. So it's really satisfying. It's a junk food game, I also call it. I think that's where I tier it. You just you kick your legs up. You're not really getting to a story, although they do try to tell one, and some fans do appreciate it. But
did you play the? Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm just there to kick the shit out of things.
Did you play the one where they tried to do real, and it was like you could get French legions? It was 100 something. It wasn't a Dynasty Warriors, but it was identical to that. It was a 360 game as well. Fuck. Wish I could remember. Shoot. Because I was really impressed by that. The thing is I would love for the new technology that we have now called graphics cards that are newer than 5 years ago for those guys to fix their engine, though.
Yeah.
Their engine, the environments are horrendous to the point of being like an ice rink. And it's a terrible, it's like 1-bit textures and shit. It's like, that is where some attention needs to be focused a little bit, is on bringing up the 9,000 guys that don't react to you. That's okay, because I can shoot them all and it's funny. But when the world looks that bland, I think that people tune out.
Yeah.
And I would like to see it look better.
It's a lot like carrying on from our conversation from last week about Nier, where we were saying, like, what games do we want to see Platinum work on? I think it's that same thing with the Warriors games. It's like, what other titles could we see them work on? It works out for everyone. We get fan service. We get a quality game usually. Maybe not always the Platinum, but we're talking Warriors now. We get good fun, and everyone makes money. So, works out pretty well.
Yeah.
And everyone makes money.
Yep, everyone makes money.
Everyone's rich.
Yep. Next topic is Injustice 2 DLC. The characters that have been added to the roster are Hellboy, Black Manta, and is it Raiden or Raiden?
Raiden.
It's Raiden. Okay, I was gonna say Raiden. So
no. Technically, you read it. It should be pronounced Raiden.
Yeah.
But you say Raiden.
Well, just because I'm thinking Metal Gear, and I think Raiden.
It's Raiden.
And then I was watching a news update for it, and they're like, Raiden's been added. And I'm like, fuck, which is it? So, all right, Raiden.
Nah, Mortal Kombat fans would kill you if you ever said Raiden.
Ooh,
so.
They'd fatality me. All right, what do you guys think about these DLC characters?
Dude, I'm so excited.
Really?
Sorry.
No, go for it. Jump right into it. I know you love Injustice.
So I love Injustice, but Hellboy, fuck yeah. And not only that, what they continue to do is understand the fans of comic books don't need 77 fucking Superman. Like, they don't need to have the same guys all the time. So Hellboy's different. That kind of stuff Mortal Kombat X with Jason and Alien. Like the Alien shows up, and you're like, I would never have thought of that. They are a company that not a lot of people give them the props for experimenting with some weird shit on their DLC and making it interesting. Their DLC is not the shit you always expect. It's usually a character that you do expect with 2 or 3 that you don't, and then here's a place that you expect with. And to me, fucking Hellboy, like Blue Beetle in the original game, characters I never thought they would put.
Firestorm was another one.
Firestorm, yeah, you're sitting there going, okay, who? Okay, yeah. and then here's what happens. Comic book fans get excited because their characters have never been in a fighting game or a game before because they're smaller. That's one way. Second way, Mortal Kombat fans or Injustice fans look at it and go, who? And they buy a comic book. Case in point, like myself. I think I bought like 9 comic books based on the characters I didn't know. That kind of stuff is fantastic, man. And also, it happens to have one of the best fighters. I still think that what's her name? This chick who screams.
Black Canary.
Black Canary's fighting style's fucking wicked.
Yeah, I love it.
I just think I'm excited for it, and I wish they had more DLC characters because I think they only have 1 set after this.
Yeah, they do 3. See, for me, my biggest issue with Injustice 2 is not the game; it is the community, not rather the fandom, but the multiplayer, the projectile spammers. Hate it.
Yeah.
Why
don't you just Gotcha.
It's just I know there are people who say just get good, Matty. He's like, I am good. I just don't like to fight through people who just stand on the other end of the arena and just shoot at me. You know, and I'm burning my meter, rolling to them, just kicking them out for a combo, and they just keep shooting me.
It's like playing Street Fighter with every other character is either Ryu or Ken or Akuma. And it's Hadouken every 3 seconds. Like,
that was pretty good.
Fucking stop. God,
yeah. Or whatever he says when he does his jump spin. I have no clue what he says. I just put sounds together.
Did we talk about this?
We did. I said what I thought it was, which was like he was like, no, dude, that's not at all. Because I thought it was sounds. And then Lone was like, dude, no,
a word.
It is yeah, and I'm all, yeah, but back in the pixelated fucking horrible sound chip days, you'd be in the arcade and it'd be all and you're like, that's not speech.
You can barely in the old Ninja Turtles games make out the like Cowabunga.
Oh yeah. And they do the subtitle and you'd be all, it sounds just like Cowabunga because you saw the subtitle.
Wow, this is realistic.
But so you're having problems with the projectiles spammers on the online community. Can you play? Do you enjoy the local multiplayer or the?
I play multiplayer.
Gotcha.
You know, that type of stuff. I play offline. That's the thing is I don't blame the game for the community. Sure, some people could say, oh, you know, if the developers didn't put in projectiles, but no, they're not going to do that. And I don't expect them to do that.
Hilarious, though.
Yeah, it would be really interesting. It just wouldn't fit the cast of characters though, because there are games like Tekken 7. I play that way more than Injustice because I like the close-up hand-to-hand combat. I really like. I think it's on a different type of skill tier. And I'm not saying that like I'm fucking amazing at Tekken and that Injustice is beneath me, but just that I like that style of battle better. I mean, you can use I say this in quotes, projectile in Tekken 7, but like if you equip your character with a gun. But oh my god, it takes so long to take out and shoot that. Like the person you're playing against has to suck to get hit by it. So with Injustice. Yeah, I play it offline. I haven't bought any of the DLC characters, just because I want to see the full roster before I commit to any of them. Like, I thought the last pack, it was really cool that they added Starfire. I like her a lot. And so, I like this batch too, but I don't know shit about Hellboy. I almost said Hellblade.
The only weird thing with me is he was smoking a cigarette. I'm like, he fucking smokes cigars. What are you talking about, bro? That was the only really weird thing.
Yeah, everyone's talking about that, and that's like their biggest issue with him. They're like, because I think he's smoking a cigarette instead of a cigar or something along those lines.
Oh, that is weird. Yeah. So, here's the thing. I do want to speak a little bit about your online woes. About 3 weeks ago, we had a composer on, and then afterwards we were talking to some people who were at that studio, and there was a discussion about basically a weighted inverse choice for multiplayer, which is something that 2 or 3 companies done. It hasn't worked perfectly, but I like the idea, which is basically the more you lose, the more you have a chance to affect the choices for the multiplayer. So, for example, Injustice allows for multiverse planets. in the game that do different things. It would be cool if a person who lost a couple times had the ability to choose where you were going to fight and on what planet. You could choose a planet that didn't allow projectiles.
Interesting. Yeah.
And what happens is, so the worse, then you get a chance to make a choice that might help you out and makes the other person have to do a different style of combat.
Interesting idea.
And and I like the idea of it. It's way different. We had talked about it, and they were trying to figure out, how to get it to work in some. It only works in some games because you might have a cheater who's like, I'm going to lose on purpose. But the cool thing about Injustice and those games is there's a reason why these guys are spamming, because they want to win. Yeah. So they will usually beat you. And then you would have more of a choice to say, okay, boom, we're fighting on Multiverse 7-7. Because that, to me, is where I think Injustice has its strengths, is the multiverse stuff. To say this planet's tilting, this planet's on fire all the time. Those are my favorite. And so the ability to sort of allow people who aren't doing so well to have a tiny bit more of a choice, I would think might work. But I don't know if they'll ever do it. I suck, or I hate hearing people having those issues.
Well, yeah, because my thing is that it's also just more enjoyable because it's a fighting game. Like, if I'm playing you online, I want to fight you. I want to get up close. I want us to test each other's skill. And like, so for me, it's like the idea of someone just sitting back and shooting me. It's like I almost always throw in the match because I'm like, I don't want to fight you anyway. It's like I'm probably gonna lose this fight, and that's frustrating in its own right. But once again, it's just because of the player. And so, like, I just find myself getting angry that they're just playing that way. And so I'm just like, you know what, I'll just move on to the next battle. And sometimes I'll just run into multiple spammers in a row. So it's, I just don't enjoy it.
You know what would be a good way to defeat that? Tell me if this would work. What if all the how all the characters in every Mortal Kombat have something special? Like, it used to be multiple martial arts, then it was this.
Yeah.
What if there was a button combo or press that you could do in the battle that would steal the other person's special abilities powers for a certain amount of time?
Or like
maybe
Shang Tsung or something.
Yeah, and maybe even destroy yours. I'm just thinking out loud here. But what it does is it allows for the possibility, which is what matters. It doesn't matter that it can always happen or never happens. Possibility is where, like, true fun comes from fighting games. The possibility of this. The possibility of stealing somebody's power so that they have to actually perform those specific combos. And I sort of like the idea of that, and of something like that built into a fighter or all the fighters in the next one. Or something like that sort of,
well, it could be that, or it could be, like, I don't know if you ever played as Akuma in Street Fighter, where he has that kind of shift move where he'll, like, kind of teleport through special moves, and through a character. Have something like that where if someone keeps spamming projectiles, you can actually just use that move, pass through his projectile, and then they're vulnerable for a hit. And then at least that makes it a little bit, harder to constantly spam projectiles, because it does get annoying, I'll admit.
Or spam projectiles can only be done at a much delayed speed than they can if they're in a combo. So the person has to pull off a combo to do said projectile move, and if they don't and they're just trying to stand there throwing a fireball, then there's enough delay that a person can, I think in Injustice, I can't remember what it's called, but you have like a speed dodge twice towards the character and a trigger, and and that would allow for something like that. If everybody's complaining about it, I think it does rest on the developers to at least look at it, though. I mean, there has to be somebody who's like, we want people to enjoy themselves, let's fix this. So hopefully somebody will come up with something that doesn't break it for those people who enjoyed it enough to jump in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I was recently playing Street Fighter 2 on the Switch, that battle with Sagat, who can throw fireballs at a speed you would never even be able to dodge, right? You can't stand there with Ken or Ryu and try and throw Hadoukens and try and do it at the same speed as Sagat. It's just not a fun battle. He's so fast, and I can see how annoying that get. Especially when you want to try it up with a different character and not have to go to one character just to combat people that like to use projectiles. It's annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. It removes some of the fun when you bump into those type of spammers. But that's why what always happens with NetherRealm games, I play it at launch, I don't touch it for about half a year, and then I come back, and then they're all gone because those people who just cared so much about winning when they first bought the game are gone. And so then I enjoy it because I'm on there to fight people.
Dude, and how many, I don't know about you, I have beat that campaign so many times I don't even count it now. Really? Like, it is Injustice 2, fuck yeah. Like, I love that you can choose different characters. That to me was just all, even though it's not a bunch of characters, but the ability to choose between like Black Canary and Oliver, that shit, yeah, I just love it. And I like to just play. And, you know, even the single player by myself against computer, all that stuff, I play the shit out of that, man. I don't know. Really? It really worked for me. And the gear, I get you so much
out
gear.
A lot of characters.
Oh, yeah, I've got, well, not a lot, but like 10. And
that's a lot. Hitting level 20 with all of them, that's wild.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was. If I didn't have a review, it was known that at about 8 in the morning, I was going to get up, and everybody in the house was going to hear is somebody's victory or whatever your victory sound is, over and fucking over and over again as I learned the character and leveled them up. And I think the gear's awesome too. Like, it's one of the few games as microtransactions that I get so much gear, I never even think about going in and buying anything. Like, I'm just flooded with shit.
It's good. Yeah. No, I like that system because it becomes an option. It becomes a system that A, wasn't in your face, and B, like, it's removed from the multiplayer anyway. I don't think unless you select the
true option. It's not the illusion of choice where like it's so hard to get.
Yeah. It's like, okay, it's here if you want to buy it. What the fuck ever, right? So, and I give them credit because especially with Warner Brothers publishing it, like, you know.
Yeah, that's the worry I have with Shadow of War.
I'm surprised they fucking don't sell you your legs in that game.
Yeah.
Like, Warner Brothers is getting crazy.
You want to walk, then?
Hey, we got an idea. Let's make the game a microtransaction.
The true test for WB is how Shadow of War is going to work with microtransactions. If it gets to the stage where it just takes so long to be able to get certain items or certain orc followers or whatever it is, then, you know, it's not real choice, you know?
Mm-hmm. All right. On to the SNES Classic, Karak's favorite topic. So,
let's package up our love and sell it.
New trailer came out, announced new features. A new rewind mode, the ability to save anywhere with suspend points and frames that'll fill in the rest of the screen. So it's kind of getting the rare replay treatment.
Yeah, with Battletoads.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Battletoads was awesome.
No, I like. Okay, I really like the save feature. I think that's great. The rewind feature, it's one of those things where it's a cool feature to have, and I could see myself using it, but does it take away from the nostalgia factor? Right? Yeah, it feels like you're cheating a little bit. I mean, how many modern games nowadays, maybe aside from like
Racing
a Forza
games.
or like a rewind in Forza, how many games have that kind of feature? Now, mind you, games nowadays aren't as hard as games in the SNES, so maybe that's why they're there. But, you know, it's a choice. You can use it or not use it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't sell me on the system anymore.
You can't get one.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I was gonna say that trailer came out after the whole thing had sold out, where they were like, "Hey, that, you know, for fans who do
radical rewind."
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, you wanted this? Well, you can't have it." And here are some new features that you didn't know about.
We just wanted you to know we will definitely have enough stock to sell to everybody.
Yeah, I like the suspend points. I think that's a good feature to add to these old school games. It's kind of cool how it has its own dashboard. I saw him like when he suspended the game in the trailer and like saved his progress. Like, it actually has its own dashboard and you flip between all the games and stuff. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
that was something I didn't really expect. I guess I should have expected it though, right? I mean, what, are they gonna give you 20 fucking cartridges or something? No, but.
What are they going to do? Make all those games available on their current system? I mean, come on. Like, let's talk real here for a second. Whatever. I'm so burned out on them. It's beyond. It's beyond funny now.
Anytime we get to this conversation, it just brings me back to the Sega Genesis collection on the 360. And I'm like, an SNES Classic on the Switch would sell so many fucking consoles.
Or just the individual.
The NES Classic collection that would sell so many consoles. An N64 Classic. Oh my god!
Before the Switch came out, I mean, I genuinely thought that the Virtual Console would come out within 6 months of launch, and I was like, I'm gonna play all the Zelda games over again. I was so excited, and it's what is it now? I mean, we're 7 months plus, something like that. I can't remember the date.
March 20th.
Oh, no, it's only been 5 months. Well, you know,
it's still been long enough for them to say something about Virtual Console.
Well, yeah, and even if it was like it's coming mid 2018 or something, I mean, we know we're going to get it eventually. Yeah, it's just going to be after Nintendo has its fun with. I hope they don't do a 64 Classic because I don't think this is the reason why I don't think they'll move on to a 64 Classic, because you need to give 4 controllers with that box. You can't have a 64 Classic without being able to play 4 people Smash or 4 people Mario Kart. And I think the cost is, people would probably buy it, let's be real, but maybe the manufacturing cost would be a little too high. I don't know.
They already trademarked or something with it. There was already
but trademarking is not usually.
They had like a concept of the picture with the console and the controller, so they're at least thinking about it.
Yeah,
not guaranteeing that it's going to happen, but with how they're doing it, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, all that you need with a trademark is an intention to use it at some sort of time in the future, and they could easily say in 6 months, "Well, we intended to use it when we trademarked it, but now we don't." Then they'll lose the trademark. So who knows?
See, that's going to be the. I'm sorry, I interrupt you. Keep going.
No, it's fine. By the way, when people need to know, they're not looking at my camera, so it's hard for them to not interrupt me.
Oh, yeah.
I knew somebody was going to say something about that at some point, because we've been doing it the entire podcast. Yeah. And I'm like, they're going to fucking bitch at Maddie, and then I'm going to get a personal fucking email about it. Yeah. You're interrupting everybody, Karak.
Yeah, we got someone on the West Coast, East Coast, and in Australia. It's very hard for us to... We do a good job of not interrupting each other.
We do a fucking fantastic job compared to most.
Yeah. No, but continue, Maddie. I've forgotten what I'm going to say now. Anyway.
My real test is going to be with the N64, because the SNES I went back to when I was a kid, but I never bought that on launch or anything. But the N64 was really my first console, and that was the game I spent so much time with. And I already own my N64. I actually hooked it up just last week because we did a friendly competition video with the Pokemon Stadium game, and then I was like, I'm kind of. Yeah, it was so much fun. And I was like, all right, I'm hooked. I got to play some other games. And so I just want to see how they get my nostalgia going with when they inevitably do the N64 Classic. That's going to be the real test for me, because I won't buy it because, like I said, I already own the fucking system. But that'll be like my, oh, wow, that's really exciting. Like, well, I think hype first or logically first. We'll see. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But what can you add? Like, okay, the SNES Classic, it makes sense to add the rewind feature, the ability to save and all that stuff. But the N64 at that point in time was already offering that stuff. So what could they do to kind of add these modern features?
That's a good question, because I'm trying to think as to what was lacking in an N64 game. But you could, for the most part, you could save.
See, actually, here's a good one, and this is why they should N64 Classic Collection, put it on the Switch. It needs a good controller. The controller sucks on the N64. I love that system and everything, but I would love to see...
Can I be real here? The Joy-Cons connected to the Switch aren't the best either. I still struggle with it. I still get sore fingers and sore hands. I love being able to dock it and using the Pro Controller, because that's I argue that's the better way to play. It's just, yeah. Anyways, but you're right. I mean, the 64 controller, it was just weird, kind of 3-pronged monstrosity.
Fucking thing in the center, and sometimes going wide. You're like,
I don't have 3 hands.
Yeah.
Dude, do you know how embarrassing this is? We really struggled with how to fucking hold that when we first got it. Like, we could not figure out what to do. And it was so weird, and each game handled it a little. I mean, now you look back and you're like, okay, I get it. But back then, that was fucking alien, man.
Yeah. Like, on paper, when you read it, yeah, they wanted to be able to have the D-pad like a traditional SNES controller, and then if you want to use analog, you can swap your hand, but you just never used that D-pad, did you? It was just...
No. Yeah. And nowadays, especially, like I said, I just picked it up a week ago, like, grabbing a controller from the right side in the middle as your natural, it feels so weird. It's like, there's just this half of the controller I'm not touching.
Yeah.
Well, look, those 64 controllers were pretty crappy anyways. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever played, like, what is it called, Mario Party, where there were those mini games where you had to spin the analog controller. The amount of N64 controllers that I have with, like, not broken analog sticks, but they're very loose, is insane. Yep. And it got to the stage where retro stores would stop buying 64 controllers from people if they had a very loose analog stick, because games become very difficult to play after that. So, yeah.
I can see what you mean that the Joy-Cons aren't the best, but they're better than the N64 controller, where if they changed the layout...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the N64 controller, they had to sell fucking gloves, or they had to give people gloves for free because they were getting blisters from using the 64 controller. Do you guys remember that?
I didn't know
that. Yeah, that was a lawsuit.
Holy crap. I didn't know that at all.
I forgot about it until he just mentioned it.
Yeah.
See, because there was a game on Rare Replay, why is the game? Jet Force Gemini. Excellent game. And they remapped on the Rare Replay. There was an option within the control menu, and I forgot what the name of it was, but it changed the controls to the 360 layout and made it basically a modern third-person shooter. And it played so much better. And I would love to see the N64 remap these controllers for like 20 games, put it on a collection for the Switch, and sell it for like, what, $40? That would be awesome.
It's the same argument we keep having. We'd love to see it on the Switch, but...
They'll probably sell the systems once they stop selling or sell less, then put it on the Switch. That's what they'll do.
It just needs to happen. It would be such a compelling console. Like right now, even though I'm playing Cave Story at the moment, and then I'll be playing Rabbids, I'm enjoying playing these smaller niche titles that just have fun gameplay.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell me, would you rather that or a bunch of old classic Nintendo games? Obviously, my choice is the latter.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that we get there eventually, but
yeah, just fitting like the resolution of the screen, being able to take N64 games on the go, like that idea too in general is awesome.
So great.
Yeah.
It'd be so great.
Does the SNES Classic or the NES Classic do any graphical? Do they fix pixel crawl? Do they keep frame rate locked? So here's the thing.
Something at the end of the trailer.
So
about
you were saying what could an N64 Classic do? And I can tell you right now, the N64 is released without filtering, and if you saw the difference between, let's say, Quake on that and Quake on any of the other systems, it was night and day because of how terrible it looked. There was no filtering at all. So just like the Xbox One X adds filtering to anything, I would love for them to be like, okay, if we're just gonna rip you off each and every year with one of our classics, but we're gonna add, yes, I have to be negative, but we're gonna add filtering in. I would be quite happy with them.
And 60 frames. Let's get 60 frames. Super Mario.
Yeah. That should be.
That'd be cool.
Thing.
Yeah, or Ocarina of Time. That would be because. And here's the thing. I mean, some of the problems coming back to playing older games is not just like, I think we can all accept the down-resing graphics because it was of their time. But what's hard is inconsistent frame rate. I mean, I don't remember as a kid how bad the frame rate was in games like Super Mario. Because like I wasn't keeping attention to that. But now I've got, I play most of my games at 60 frames. Going back to that, if there are frame rate issues, that's noticeable. That affects enjoyment. Not the fact that it looks a little bad, like in terms of graphics, because we expect that from an older game, but it's hard to get past a bad frame rate. Yeah. So I really want improved frame rates.
Totally agree. All right. Our next topic, I personally will not have much to say on this because I have not played all of this series, but Age of Empires 4 was announced alongside re-releases for the earlier games in the series. Karak, I'm thinking you're going to have to take the stage on this one.
Am I the only one who has played it?
This is your
Didn't
topic,
even know about this series.
Oh, man. Dude, so this was the best week in a long time for like announcement somewhere. Each time somebody was like, Digital Foundry did their Xbox X like breakthrough and they were talking about all that stuff. I was like, that's great, blah, blah, blah. And then I started seeing all these trailers and I was excited. And then I saw Age of Empires and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This is my NES Classic, SNES Classic smashed together, but actually done to not rip you off. Age of Empires 4, even though it's Runic Games, who wasn't so popular a little while ago because of their Dawn of their Warhammer one.
Okay. Oh, they were the ones who made that.
They were the ones who made it, but they've made a lot of good games. And the fact is Age of Empires, I couldn't even tell you if we sat down for months and you asked me why I liked it so much. I still like it. We just were messing around about 6 months ago, playing around with one of the later ones. They're fantastic games. So to me, that is probably like some of the news of the year. Really? Is the fact that, and I'm not, that's not my genre I usually talk about. But
now here's a question that I have,
oh
Karak.
my God, they're good.
I noticed that Microsoft is publishing this. Is this coming to Xbox One as an exclusive? Could it
that
come
I don't
to
know.
Xbox One?
That I don't know. It could come to Xbox One because we already know. I mean, especially there's been some people messing around with some of the different SDK packs and stuff. There's a rumor that the mouse and keyboard's already technically programmed into the Xbox One X and Xbox One S, and they haven't turned it on yet. So I sometimes wonder if a game like this is a game where they're like, maybe you can use your mouse and keyboard only in some games. You know,
well,
maybe like
Microsoft. Everyone keeps saying Microsoft needs exclusives. I mean, Age of Empires would be a huge exclusive for the Xbox One.
Dude,
obviously
can you imagine
it's on PC, but yeah, exactly right. And just plug in your keyboard and mouse
4K
to your Xbox One if you want. Ooh.
Age of Empires 4. Dude, I'm so excited for this game. Even if that is a really good idea, which I'll be honest, I hadn't thought of. But it is an RTS that is, dude, I don't even know how to describe it. It's sound effects, everything about the way it was done. What is like every little nostalgic feeling I got as a kid. The first time we all have like the first console, the first PC game, that you have those bits of technology, and something about Age of Empires has always been my first true memory of a PC title. And just sitting down going, why would I care about taking these guys from fucking cavemen up to pikemen? Like, why would I give a shit? And then all of a sudden you give a shit. You're like, this is fucking awesome.
So is this game like a Total War Civilization style game?
It's much less like Total War in the past. I don't know what it'll be like because I didn't see any visuals. So, but it's more of just an RTS like or like almost like a StarCraft kind of thing. Where that's what it looked like. By the way, I don't know what it's going to look like.
Karak, I was listening to your podcast with TB, and he just kept saying, Karak, because you've played every game ever.
Yeah, that was his go-to every time. Yeah, I was listening to that too.
He even tweeted me. He was like, dude, quit working. Because he's like, what are you doing right now? And I'm all, oh, I was talking to my wife and playing a game and tweeting him. And he's like, dude, you need to knock it off. Yeah, he was giving me shit the entire time. Well, it's because every time we were talking, I was like, dude, I just finished that. And he's like, what the fuck? Well, I sleep for like 3 hours.
How did you just finish those 10 games we've talked about?
You know what's awesome? A lot of people don't realize that one of the ways that's done is the fact that we're all talking about them. So we're talking about Age of Empires. So guess what? I turned on Age of Empires just recently. Like those kind of things happen. And so it can sound weird. It's like, Jesus Christ.
A lot of conversations in YouTube, people just condense to the conversation happening here.
Exactly.
They don't think what happens after.
Outside of it.
Yeah.
Or like Reg will bring up something and I'll say, oh, we just talked about it on the podcast. And people will be like, oh, sure you did. But we did. It's because Matty saw the same thing Reg did. So it's that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, he was giving me shit. He was actually, that was not what I was expecting. I'll say that. That turned out to be very, very well. I thought it was going to be fun, but that was a really fun podcast to sort of see what they do behind the scenes and how they got along like a lot of us do. That was really fun to. Their in jokes were hilarious, really cool. Just like ours, where we're doing shit and we know no one would get it. Like if we hit record, they'd be all, Karak's being a dick to Lone. They would not know the certain way we talk, and so it was fun to sort of see him in a light outside of. Because I don't do a lot of the social stuff that he does. He doesn't review games to the end. That was how the discussion started. He was like, he just plays a little bit of time, and he's all, wait, this game isn't that good? And I'm like, well, dude, 4 or 5 hours of Zodiac, that dice rolling game, and then you're like, I don't want to ever see a dice again. And he's like, well, the first 2 or 3 hours are good. And I'm, exactly. Like that's the problem. Is one person's playing it for a quick play. And so that's how it all sort of began. I mean, it began around the YouTube, but that's how the conversation began. So it was very fun. Yeah, definitely cool. And Age of Empires is another one he liked. I mean, I think a lot of older people, anybody over probably 30, is going to have experience with 2 or 3.
Okay.
Age of Empires 2 or 3, I think.
How old is this series?
Well, 2 or 3 was like
97?
a long time ago. So 90s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That explains.
So,
I've heard of it before, but I had no idea what it was. But that's interesting. So it's been around for a while. So when was Age of Empires 3 then?
That's actually what I was just going to look up because I was like, how long? I think it's more than a decade.
Wow.
3 is 2005,
Dude.
12 years.
Yeah.
And then 1 is 97 in October. So.
Holy
and
crap.
The only other game you would ever see me get this excited for is Myth by Bungie. The RTS Myth. Myth 1, Soul Blighter was 2. Did you guys ever play those?
Like Halo Bungie?
Yeah.
Wow. They made an RTS.
You never played the Myth games?
No.
The strategy games?
Nope.
I like from Age of Empires, like I only played 1. I think I played a bit of 2.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, like I think 1 I watched a lot of people play it. It was one of those games that everyone they just loved it. They loved this fucking series.
And I bet you again, like it'd be very hard for them to tell you why. It's one of those games we all have them where you're like, I don't know, it just works for me.
Well, it's kind of like if you look at Clash of Clans on mobile, just the ability for you to build up your own. Yeah, I know, but it's the concept of building up your own army and your forts and shit. Yeah. Like that's the appeal here. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think and the more we see of these, the more happy I'll be, even if they are just PC. I love this kind of stuff.
Dude, I'm looking at screenshots now. This is bringing back memories of the first one. Fuck.
Yeah,
and the remakes. They're doing remakes of 2 and 3. I believe as well.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, they're doing re-releases of the earlier entries, so players such as myself can get into them. The reason I think I haven't touched these games is because I was definitely late to strategy. There would be games I'd play and I'd enjoy them and not think like, oh, that's just strategy. I'd always be like, no, I don't like strategy games, but like I'd play Pokemon. Another example, these are literally the first games that come to mind. Pokemon, Final Fantasy 13 2, which I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And the other one is XCOM, the first XCOM. When it came to
did you ever play? Oh, because you said you're a big 64 fan. Did you ever play StarCraft on the 64?
Nope.
Oh man, see, I played that at a time where I was so bad at it, obviously because I was a kid. But just fond memories of StarCraft.
But like awesome. after I played XCOM, Enemy Unknown, that was the cherry popper. I was like, I fucking love strategy, and I've play it all the time ever since.
You know what it might be though, Matty? The honest truth is also an Age of Empires looks like a civilization, which looks like a. And the thing about XCOM is it doesn't. XCOM is a strange, goofy 1970s Flash Gordon thing, and then strained through a really bad day filter. So it's just like, what's fucking happening?
It was a good entry barrier.
That it's a good, and it does, and it causes people to look at that and go, and I love those kind of games that are sort of the litmus test for how somebody will be later. And they see it and they're like, I'll check it out. And then it just sort of branches them out into all the other titles. And titles you might be like, oh, I can probably do this now. Let's jump into this one. I think XCOM's a great example of that genre and just like a good game to. It is hard. It's balls hard at times, but it's a good game to jump into and sort of. And here's the weird thing. Think about this. You said strategy, but you didn't mention the one game that I think is one of the most strategy-heavy titles that is one of your favorites, which is Persona. So there are battles in Persona. Dude, I literally was like, it's requiring so much strategy. I don't know if my brain's going to be able to handle this battle. And so to me, I also like these games because they teach you other things. XCOM teaches permadeath. So that means if you hear about Dark Souls, maybe you go, oh, okay, well, I just got to watch all of this team die. Maybe I'm okay with this now. And so I like that as well, that some of these games teach some of the skills for the other titles. And fucking Persona's strategy. Man.
That's what I love about strategy, though. You know, there are games where, like you said, you're almost like on the brink, or you'll be presented with the battle scenario, and you look at it and say, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do this. I think a good example of that is Valkyria Chronicles. Like, I'd look at some battles and say, no way I can do this. And like, you just pull out at the end, and you do way better than expected. That's like my favorite feeling in a strategy game, is like overcoming that challenge.
Do you know what else is good? Is a game that understands that losing isn't always just winning, but having more of your guys killed. And XCOM understands that, with retreat being a very valid option at times, especially the new ones. Yeah. And so I like that as, man. Oh, dude, XCOM 2, War of the Chosen, man, I've never seen an expansion. I mean, the last time I saw an expansion like that is Enemy Within, actually, but playing it and watching the AI, and I was in a battle, and I was like, I lost like 10 patrons because I had patrons as my team members. I had Total Biscuit myself, and then some patrons. And we were getting smoked. And I remember sitting there going, how am I going to win? And I remember it was almost like a voice in my head said, dude, you don't have to win. You can retreat. And I was like, oh, yeah, I just hit this button and I say, this isn't working. I need to jump on a fucking quick helicopter and get out of here. And those guys are still dead, but I'm I can fight another day. And I think Total War does that somewhat well with some retreat options, but it's not actually taught that much. I mean, really, when you look at strategy, most of the time it's about Zergen and hoping somebody dies quicker than you a lot of times. And there isn't a subtlety there that I like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, strategy is definitely expanding more, and that makes me really happy.
Console stuff would be great.
Yes, I agree. We're starting to see that a little bit, like Pillars of Eternity. That's coming to consoles, I think, in next week.
You can hear the music right now. Coming from, it's been on I've been playing it on the console.
Really?
Yeah, it's been. I've had it for a couple days. Yeah, so
what haven't you been playing, Karak, for fuck's sake?
Oh,
like
you know
5 games in a day.
No, dude, because Maddie and I, we were just talking about this. Like, I miss so many titles, and Immortal Planet. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah, I've gotten
it's
some emails
Dark
about
Souls 3/4 down, kind of like isometric, but Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And that was like, I missed that one. There's a ton of games I miss.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't do them.
Last topic I have written down is Shenmue 3 again. We were talking about it last week. Once again, now we're getting our first look at it. There was a trailer that was released, and the game had some kind of janky looking animations in the facial department, and that resulted in fan complaints. But then again, Yu Suzuki came out and said that this is not permanent, that they're actually very like bare bones animations. They said they really haven't even touched them up. So
okay. If that's, I'm sorry to interrupt. But
no. That was it. That was the news right there.
I mean, why release the trailer? That's my question.
Like, why agree.
Was this a Gamescom thing? Is that what it came out for?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, then that makes more sense. All right, sorry.
I think my guess is that Shenmue has never been a series that's been about the graphics, has been about that believability in its animation, although I think that is what is required to take it to the next step. Just because I talked about it last week, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but it did a lot of things in the original 2 games that made it such a believable experience. Like I said, checking your watch, making sure you're on time for a meeting to start your next mission, stuff along those lines. Being able to walk around this hub world, open any drawer, take money, interact with the vending machine. Sounds pretty basic now.
Raise kittens.
Yeah, sounds crazy, or sounds pretty typical now. Maybe not the raising kittens part, but back then it was fucking ridiculous. So seeing that being carried into a Shenmue 3, hopefully, that level of choice, that level of interaction, and then good animation on top of it to make it all the more believable. Because we've seen in many games what excellent animation can do to really rope you in. I think Hellblade's the most recent example. So yeah, I agree totally. Why release the trailer? Especially when no one's really pressing you for it. We haven't heard jack about Shenmue 3.
That might be why.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think that
well,
is
I mean,
why.
like, if you look at the trailer, you have to say the environments are beautiful, and the use of color in particular, like it's a really not overpowering or overbearing, but the color is just amazing when you look at it. Imagine it had better facial animations. The fighting looks pretty good too. It looks like your typical Karate Kid movie. But
Karate Kid movie.
You watch Karate Kid?
I actually haven't.
Oh my god!
I know. There are so many.
I've watched that like 10 times.
Honestly, I have pissed people off when they start going on about old movies. They're like, "Have you seen this? Have you seen that?" I'm like, "Nope, and nope." Because here's my thing. I think I've said this before. Is that I'm watching this movie. I'm like, I could be playing a game I really like right now, and so I go through stretches where I watch a lot of TV or I watch a lot of movies. But that's why, like, I just play so much catch up with movies. Like, I've been better lately, or this year I've been better with movies, but. Outside of that, just I'm not good.
I've been getting into TV shows, watching them as I work out. That's the best way I found.
Yeah. My friend watches Netflix in the shower. He gets a waterproof phone case, sets up his phone, and while he's showering, he watches.
That's a great idea. It's a fantastic.
It's a waste of water. That's what I tell him.
It is, man.
I'm like, dude, you're in there for 50 fucking minutes.
Dude, I'm a utility shower person. I get myself clean and I'm out. It's a waste of my day. Like, I'm in and out. If I could fucking run through
showers.
it, I would.
I'm a good 25 minutes.
What the fuck?
Like, just because you're watching something in the shower doesn't mean you're spending longer showering. You could just watch it as you shower normally, right? I mean, I don't spend more time running on the treadmill because I'm watching House of Cards. I run for 30 minutes.
I can't believe this. That's a fucking episode of a fucking TV show that you're in the shitter or the shower. God damn. You guys are weird.
I just for me is I don't drink coffee, so my wake up is the shower. Always.
Oh, okay.
Nah.
Well,
look, my wake up is the shower, but my morning coffee comes at about 9:30. So, yeah.
You both. Yeah, you play a dangerous game. You waste a good hour and a half of your morning.
I've discovered, because we're getting so off topic, if I don't go to the bathroom before this podcast, I'm busting by an hour in. It's pain, especially because I drink a coffee as we start. It's not
funny you mentioned that, because I drink, usually during the course of our podcast, I drink 2 liters of water. So literally every time we finish this show, I bolt out of my room and take the biggest piss of my life. Every time, without fail. It's so bad.
Welcome to the Mr. Matty Podcast, where we talk about people pissing and how long it takes.
I'm there for like a minute. Just letting all the liters pour out of me.
Oh, that's what it was. So Shenmue, I did want to say, I fucking forgot what we were talking about. And now I forgot what it was. Oh, there's a reason for everything. Obviously, a company doesn't waste money making a trailer. So maybe they felt that they wanted to keep people understanding they were working on it. Mm-hmm. I additionally wonder if they wanted a certain frame rate and they had to make some cuts, and they decided, well, we'll make some cuts on the models so that, we can then tell people that it's all, basic stuff, but it was still at 60 frames per second. I don't remember. I didn't see how many frames it was.
The trailer at 60 frames, though. That's the weird.
Uploaded at 30.
I don't know if that game's coming to PC or not. I know it's definitely coming to PS4. I don't know if it's
surely on
though.
PS4 Pro this game could run 60 frames.
I'd imagine so. It depends how many moving parts, because
exactly,
for the
physics
time,
are going to be your big thing there.
For the time, Shenmue 1 and 2 were so advanced, and so it's like if they really take that same mindset, which you can see a lot of the DNA, like 1 and 2 were known really well for their excellent environments, their use of color, and so you can see if that's living on. I'd imagine a lot of the similar design choices are going to come into Shenmue 3.
I will say this also, as somebody who's seen the Saturn version of fucking Shenmue, and it never released on that.
Wow.
And then it got translated over to the Dreamcast for the first one. I can tell you that those games don't come to fruition until very, 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 very late in the design. More so than, from what I've understood, it's actually one of the reasons why Sega was a little hesitant on, not only because Shenmue 2 didn't do the best, but was a little hesitant on 3, was because there isn't a return on investment with that development group and how he develops games. He's more of a big person, like a big picture. You solidify it. Just different authors do the same thing. Do you write from page 1, or do you know the entire story? And I think that there's a chance that maybe he's a big picture guy and he didn't, they don't want to make, if you make one thing look amazing, then really, where are you in your development process? It should sort of be layers. And so I think maybe they just went in and they were like, let's make it look good. I didn't know they didn't upload it at 60. But it doesn't necessarily surprise me right now. Just how long's it got, guys? Like, how long until that comes out?
Apparently 2018.
That doesn't look like a 2018 release, does it?
That's a late 2018.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking late. Yeah, for sure. October.
Like I said, animations, I don't, just because of how old the series is, I don't look at it for that. Right. And I'd rather them get a lot of the world choices, the world actions, and combat down. Because here's the thing, is that I don't know how well Shenmue 1 and 2 would age in combat, because a lot of it was QTEs. A lot of it was QTEs. And back then, that was fine. It was exciting, because you'd see, like, Ryu sprinting through the streets, and you'd have to, like, press up to jump, and then, like, someone would just be casually walking by with a box of fucking apples, and you'd have to, like, dodge them right after. So,
yeah.
They had to make some overhauls in that department. So if that comes at the sacrifice of some animations, like, I played Mass Effect Andromeda at launch, it's fine. Like, I can live. Especially because I think Shenmue 3, its existence makes it excusable. But for me personally, I don't look at the series for that. I don't. I think, though, that if it's honest reporting, though. I think, at least if anything, I don't think they should have released a trailer. But I like that they said, okay, the game's still in development. Here's a first look at it. Here's where we are with it. And in my opinion, it can only just improve from this point onwards.
Yeah, and at some point, I think we all have to be adults and say, if we continue to demand information on stuff, then we have to understand that information won't be complete when we get it. That includes visuals.
Absolutely, and especially demanding information faster. Like, why haven't we heard more? And then when you hear it, well, this is shit. Like, working on it.
Yeah.
What do you want us to do? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just sit back. I just don't give a shit at all until that is really close to release because it's a Shenmue title. Like I have no clue. It's got such a gap. It could be the resurgence of like incredible single player adventure. Let's live the life of a character. Witcher 3 kind of amazing adventure. And it could be something in between. It could be terrible. No one fucking knows, and certainly not a year prior to its release. I mean, come on.
I agree.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, we'll see in due time. That wraps up all the news that Matthew has. Anything else?
Anything you wanted to talk about, Karak?
Yeah, but do you have something?
I have something, but I can wait.
You go first. You go first.
All right, well, you guys talk. I'm gonna let loose.
Where's he going?
He's gonna go pee. I was like, "What the fuck's he talking?" Oh my god!
Okay,
did you see his pajamas?
Did you see his pajamas?
What is happening? He's doing it on fucking purpose. He has to be. No one wears that shit normally.
I'm literally wearing just like
Christmas.
one colored trackies. That's all I
have. What news were you gonna talk about?
So it's the new Overwatch map that came out. That's Junkertown, and this is not really about Overwatch, so you can chime in, but it's an Australian themed map, right? And you know Overwatch, it is so like culturally inspired by different countries and cultures and all that kind of stuff, right? And there was a couple of, I say issues for one, all right, because it's not really an issue, issues with this new Junkertown map. So the one thing, and I think it started off as a joke, right, on a Reddit thread, but someone was like, hey, this Overwatch map is meant to be about Australia, and the sign reads as takeout, but we don't use the word or the phrase takeout in Australia. We say takeaway for takeaway food. Yeah. Okay. And someone said as a joke, oh, Australians might get pissed off at this. Maybe they were being serious. And then Jeff Kaplan comes out and says, we're so sorry, we'll fix this, the travesty of the map mistake, yeah? So that was like I'm going to assume it was a joke because that's even as an Aussie, that's a stupid thing to get upset about. And put into perspective, we're talking about a video game map here, but even that is such a small issue. However, there was also an issue, which is a little bit more not of a joke, there was this trailer that came out about Junkertown, which had some phrases about how we're going to take back our land, and they referred to something called, the dream time, or something about, we'll make you forget your dreams, or something weird like that. And some people were saying, I don't know if you're aware of kind of what happened in Australia with I use the word colonization very loosely, but colonization and our indigenous people. They were saying that those phrases being used in the map and in the trailer were being insensitive to our indigenous people, where their land was essentially taken over, and there was like huge atrocities that occurred with Aborigines in Australia. For instance, Maddie, if you're not aware of this, we're talking about Junkertown and the Australia map. But what happened is that white English people came into Australia, and they were essentially trying to breed out indigenous people. So they would have them mate with white UK people to breed out the skin color over time. So that's something that happened in Australia's past, like fucked up shit. And essentially the Junkertown map was like, we're going to take our land back. So it was I don't think it was intentional, but there was some similarities between that history with Australia. So my question that I wanted to pose to you, when a game like Overwatch does delve into this cultural aspect of whether it's the characters, whether it's the maps themselves, should Blizzard be held to a little bit higher standard in terms of researching and actually consulting with people from those countries and those cultures to make sure they get things right? Like, forget the map and the takeaway and takeout thing, because that's stupid. But with something like this, where I don't think it was malicious, I don't think it was intentional. No, I can't expect someone that's not Australian to know what happened in Australia in the past. Just like I can't expect to know what happened in the US in the past with the Confederacy or with like indigenous people there. So I have no idea about that stuff. But because Blizzard is kind of delving into an Australian themed map, should they be responsible for doing a bit more research? That's the question.
My first question, you kind of already answered it, but just to make sure I'm perfectly aware of what's going on, is was it just kind of parallels being drawn, or was it directly resembling to some extent what had happened in the past?
To be honest, I don't even think Blizzard were intentionally drawing parallels. I think it was just a poor choice of words that they didn't even recognize. Like, they just, because of the, the story in Overwatch.
To take our village back? Is that what they said?
Well, it's like, what are the story with the Omnics, yeah? Like, it was like just drawing from the story with Overwatch, and I think it was an unfortunate coincidence. That's my honest opinion about it.
That's what it sounds like. Here's the thing, is that you're looking at the most popular shooter, one of the most popular shooters, out there. They benefited entirely from positive press the whole way through. They have no reason to start controversy, to make smug remarks about their fan base. I don't think there's malicious intent. Blizzard has never been that type of company. They, especially with Overwatch, where like that the developer to fan communication is amazing with that game, and it always feels like they're listening. I can promise you it's not intentional. I could not see that.
No, I agree. What do you think, Karak?
It's funny because like when you look at how people end up getting in trouble, a lot of times one person says what they said is insensitive, one person is just trying to fucking make a point. A lot of times when you reach out and you start to develop a title, you'll have people say, okay, well, we're going to need to go here, right?
Yeah.
We're going to need to go there, and we're going to need to study. I covered Ubisoft for Watch Dogs 1, and I know it's not the greatest game, but the background that they did was insane. And that's a town where a lot of them are from. So, or at least in the same nation. And I think sometimes when somebody tries to do something and you study something, you think, okay, this does pay respect, or maybe even you don't think of that. You just write something, but you have just imbibed data and your brain is parsing it, and you write something out and you're like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And the reason why I say that is because if you watch a movie, you have a tendency sometimes to repeat lines within the next week or so you're watching it. So I don't know if I can say that somebody did something on purpose versus somebody did study stuff and certain words are in their brain now. And that's one of the things that I find, it's weird because I don't get offended, but I find offensive, which is people getting offended all the time. Well, and the reason why is because I know people who have been treated horribly and they would never be offended at these things. They would be offended at real things, or what they would term as real things, by the way. They're saying
it's funny that you mentioned this, all right? So there's an Australian Indigenous person, her name is Ray Johnson, and she came up with this quote, which was just beautiful, yeah? So, like, if you were to ask me, like, I personally wasn't offended. I'm not Indigenous, but she is, and this is what she said. If you're vocal and angry and spreading the word about a video game trailer using poorly chosen language that could potentially maybe be deemed offensive to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, I hope you also save some energy to speak out about the multitude of actual horrific injustices happening on a daily basis. And she goes on. And this is coming from someone who's actually Indigenous. And when I first saw this trailer, I'm like, sweet, Australian map. This is awesome. I love that. Like, I love that. And what's it called? Rocket League with the Sydney map, and even Overwatch with like the Australian jerseys, and Forza being set in Australia. I love that shit. Yeah. And I don't want to see devs be scared off by the prospect of incorporating Australia into their games. Even Borderlands pre-sequel, it was made by an Aussie studio, but I don't want to see this stopped. So I think there's a difference there. Like, even if something does, if it's insensitive, even if that does happen, I think there's a better way to go about it, and to get completely just lose your mind and say, what the fuck is this? Then instead to say, hey, Blizzard, there could be an issue here. It's probably best if you address this in a calm and collected way. I think that's more constructive. Exactly the way Ray Johnson said that.
Yeah. I mean, and most of the people I know who are involved in something big right now, whatever it may be, will usually say that if they've had a life experience that actually matters. Yeah. I mean, and people can get mad at me all they want, but those are the people that I end up engaging with because of what I do on the side. I talk about it all the time. Like, some of the kids I deal with, there's a reason why. And it's not because they're kids that I'm dealing with them. It's because of certain things that have happened. And so it's like half of it. I mean, they're the shit that they're like offensive or whatever is so far past. Well, it's like me saying that of all the things that don't matter in the world, it's a video game review. I mean, fucking come on.
I mean, put it into perspective. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that sometimes that outrage or whatever that people get, you know what? You can be outraged about whatever you want, but sometimes people are just trying to create something. And there's a difference between creating something that's going to work for every single person, homogenized, and something that the creator just writes down and puts and says, this is what I'm creating. And sometimes it's okay to just let it be there. I mean,
it reminds me, when we're just talking about just creating something, it reminds me of with Far Harbor when that came out and people were saying Bethesda was directly stealing from modders by a questing kind of vault being very similar to something else that a modder had made. And it was very similar, and there is still a lot of skepticism about that. But I just, part of me thinks that Bethesda, everyone knows about mods. A lot of people download mods. It's just very possible that someone said, I wanted to create something cool. I wanted to have a vault run by robots. And when they created this plot, it ended up being really similar. And I'm not defending Bethesda for that because, in this situation, or in that situation, rather, I should say, they probably should have done their research more. But it's like, you can research all you want. You still might miss something, though.
Oh, you are going... Like, and like, even I don't know everything.
I was going to say, that's the thing, is like, I'll make a discussion video. Lone's probably gotten this before. Karak, you definitely gotten this before, too.
Absolutely.
You make a discussion video. You try to consider every point of view. You bring up all the facts you can. And still, and this is the beauty of the comment section, at first it can be a little frustrating, but you still feel like you missed something. And they'll be like, and it'll look like you're incompetent, like you didn't study enough, but it's like, no, because everyone's got a different perspective, a different thought process, a different way of approaching a situation where they just might think differently about it and bring up that other excellent point into the conversation. That's how it grows. So
well, that's how conversations work, and you can't be expected to know everything. I mean, even like me, like I am an Aussie, and someone dropped the argument where the trailer used the phrase dream, right? And in the Aboriginal culture, dream time is a very important spiritual concept. That just never crossed my mind. Yeah, and I'm someone that's actually intimate with the knowledge of what happened to our Aborigines. So, and that's the key thing here. I think you have US developers, US-based developers, even though they have people that work in Australia, that wanted to do something cool with Australian culture, and it was an unfortunate, coincidence or accident or, poor choice of words. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it is. But then, is there room for consultation? Of course there is. I mean, look at all the characters that they have in Overwatch, and they're trying their best to be gender diverse, culturally diverse. Look at all the characters that they have that are, like you just have Doomfist, for instance. He's what? He's West African inspired, or a Somalian or something like that.
Something along those lines.
They're trying here. They really are trying to include a diverse class of characters and maps. So. Anyway,
I also think people need to probably go back to... I think this would be taught in 2nd grade, but there's a little thing called math. If you have 1,000 people who are researchers at your company, you will still not be able to beat out the 20,000 that just watched a YouTube video.
Absolutely.
So there is a fake stupidness that happens a lot of time, and I do believe it's fake. I completely believe it's fake. I think that a lot of people do it because they have shitty lives, but a lot of people, that's where their importance comes from, and they ignore the facts of how something was done. They ignore the facts behind anything. It's because they are now a part of an important discussion, because in real life, they're not a part of anything important.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
No,
I'm not trying to be... That's exactly what I mean, I deal with these people.
I'm saying
I've had the issue myself.
have definitely... I would not have put it together like that, but I've definitely seen a situation like that where, for the sake of the discussion, they'll try to counter your point, even if it, like you said, ignores all facts.
Yeah. And I don't like that. I'm sure I've done it in my life, for sure. Every human has. But I'm just saying that what happens is things are so blown up now that it's happening at a far greater rate. And whether they are whether they've attempted to be diverse or not, as long as they have somewhat of an idea about what the community as a whole is talking about and stuff like that, I think that their choices are theirs to make. And I think one thing that is occurring in game development is a purposeful stalling by customers and stopping devs from doing their work, because devs are so frustrated with any Cliff Basinski even said it. He's like, we listened to people for a while and then we just stopped because and Lawbreakers, success or not, I like that idea, because sometimes you have to just be like, you guys you're not creators, you're just people. You're not here.
Well, and also as well, people are just 50-50 on certain issues. So who do you listen to?
It's true too. Yeah, even me and Matty. It's like, can you imagine if Matty was asked to work on Far Cry Primal and I was asked to work on Hardline? I mean, that's the thing.
What the fuck is this?
Be aggressively disagree on those two titles. That kind of stuff happens in everything in life, and I think that people need to fucking step back and go out and have some brunch and just fucking get outside a little bit, because it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
real shit happens. Worry about that.
No, absolutely. Like, real shit happens. And again, I don't want to see something like this discourage developers to incorporate, you know, countries like Australia into their games. Like, if every time someone tried to do something Australian, there was outrage and offense on the internet,
or Siesta,
devs just will stop doing that.
People are pissed that somebody put Siesta in a game. This weird, I know you better than you do attitude is fucking crazy. Like, and I'm not saying there's not horrible people. There are, but I think everybody's assuming everybody's horrible, and it's just really.
Yeah. No, so I think it was just an unfortunate choice of words, and I don't want to see it stop. I don't want to see Australia stop being in video games because of a few certain outrages.
Right.
You know? So,
yeah. I want to see more. I mean, video games aren't regional, really. Like, they should be everywhere. Every company or every fucking nation should be able to make them, and every fucking person should be able to have a chance to enjoy them. And that means we're going to get some weird shit, because remember, other nations hate things that I can't wait until a game gets made in a nation, and it's probably happened, by the way. I think there was one, so somebody can correct me, but in a nation where, like, the leadership isn't necessarily democratic or something, you know, and you get that game where you're like, okay, this is really bad technically, like how people are, but is that acceptable? There's actually a game that wasn't there a Saudi Arabia? Wasn't there a title, a first-person shooter, where, like, you were killing people from another nearby nation? I'm pretty sure it was pretty crazy. Like,
are you talking about 6 days? And I saw a video on that just recently.
I think I am. I think that, but I remember it, like, when it came up. It was
based in Iran or something like that.
And I was like, yes, I totally get people's outrage, but you got to realize, like, other people get the ability to make games. Their thought processes are not yours. And that's a part of being a global community. The moment fucking telephones were invented, you got fucked if you think you're going to control everybody. So, yeah, it's cool stuff, man. I mean, I like that the discussion's happening, but I certainly hope that they only change things that are deemed stuff they want to change, and that they're not just worried all the time. I mean,
yeah, agreed. So what was your topic that you want to talk about, Karak?
Oh, geez. So I don't know if you guys saw, Comcast users get something besides crap service. This is a NeoGAF thread. They get a World War II private beta code from Activision. I thought that was pretty cool.
What?
Yeah. So you go, there's a thing here for Xfinity. It's xfinity.com/Call of Duty. You go there, you give them your primary email for the account and your account number, and they give you the code on the 25th. And I just thought that was awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah,
have you played the beta?
I've got it downloaded, but I don't know if I'm going to have any time. Oh, that'll be a game, Lone, that I won't be able to check out. I don't think. I think
Call of Duty.
Yeah, I just I can't wait to, like, play it, but I'll be too busy.
Yeah, look, October, November is going to be a bitch. Like, there are going to be games where you just won't have time to play.
Oh, no. I'll play it then. I mean right now.
Oh, you mean the beta?
Dude, it's still true, though.
I am a Call of Duty fan. Fuck it.
Okay.
Like, I love to sit down and play the campaign. I'm not saying they're great games, and so I will be there to enjoy the Michael Bay over the top shit.
I have played the World War II beta. I played 5-ish hours of it last night.
Okay. Oh, great. And what'd you? Oh, can you talk? Yeah. Can you talk about it?
Yeah. I can. Yeah. Oh, I'm shaking my head approvingly. It's actually pretty good. And here's the thing: is one thing I want to mention is it's not. I wouldn't say it's because of the time period, but the time period enables certain restrictions that make sense in universe, making it a much, much better Call of Duty game. Because the boots on the ground gunfights, that's what it's all about, at least in this slice of gameplay. Because the score streaks that are there aren't these big missiles raining from the sky, killing teams over and over and over with your spawn trap. A lot of it boils down to just gunplay. And that may sound very bare bones to players, and I can get why, but it's so refreshing. It's so nice, too, because it's a lot more fun. It makes gun battles actually intense. It doesn't encourage camping, that type of stuff. The map design is pretty good. I was surprised.
Is this multiplayer, Matty, or single player?
Yeah, multiplayer. No single player.
Continue. Sorry. Oh, okay.
But the map design is surprisingly good. And I say surprisingly because Sledgehammer is making this. And I think they made Advanced Warfare. and that game was just, it was horrible. I think the best way to make a map is you have this central point in the map, and then you have a lot of branching ways to get to that central point on the sides of the map that dissect into the map itself and also allow you to get to the other end. That may sound very simplistic in nature, but a lot of times we'll see maps that are layer like this, and players are all over the fucking place, and they're spawning on top of each other and stuff, and it just doesn't work, and there's no direct central point that players are constantly meeting up in to engage in combat, or where you know is a hot spot, really. And so it doesn't encourage those tactics. And that's what really surprised me, is that World War II has really good maps, at least the 3 I played. Actually 4, I'm sorry, because there's a unique map to the war game mode. But yeah, I was surprised by the maps.
But does that have to do with the fact that there's no jetpacks anymore? I mean, when you have jetpacks, you're gonna have people spawning like fucking on the 5th level, and just
because what happens is with the jetpacks, there's, I forgot how the spawn system in Call of Duty works. I guess it just, in more simpler terms, I'll say it looks at where everyone is and then puts you in the empty spot where no one else is. And what happens is, because the movement is so fast in the games, and then you have jetpacks on top of it, that time between you and that 1 second spawning on one side of the map, someone could be already halfway to you. And that's what the biggest issue was that everyone was so unpredictable, going all over the place, that players were ruining other players' kill streaks, or their little runs, because they were spawning on them, or someone would spawn, the person would be running in a direction. So
there's no spawn points. Like there's no way for you to be able to pin new spawning players and just get huge kill streaks like you used to be able to do.
I'm sure, like with every Call of Duty, there will be players who will take a mode, break it down to a science, like Demolition. That's one of the, I don't know if that's in World War II, but that's one of the biggest spawn trap modes in Call of Duty, because you just spawn behind the bomb, and so it's really easy to set up in choke points and just rain down fire on the opponent who's defending. With that said, that's where War is awesome. They bring back the War game mode, and in the War game mode, they really overhauled it. Where originally in World at War, which is the only game to feature this War game mode, it was basically like headquarters. You'd lay on a flag, you'd cap it for a long while, and then you'd advance to the next point, but you can never go back. You just have to keep defending the progressional points. And in this mode, there's 4 different objectives as the maps progress, and so on attacking it's different, on defending it's different. So on defending, you could set up turrets in a window, and in that window, like that MG, you mow down players, and they get rid of the death counter. So the deaths in this mode don't matter. It's literally, the stats that they track are kills, defends.
Hold on. I have to ask. Okay.
Go for it.
They did that in some Call of Duty maps where they wouldn't show you how many times you've died or what your KD is or whatever, but it still counts towards your overall KD. There needs to be.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. In Call of Duty, especially on objective matches, they need to say none of your kills and deaths will add towards your overall KD. Otherwise, you'll have people playing Demolition and Headquarters and stuff like that would just not do objective and just play for kills and deaths. That's
it's a
what
ripple
they do.
effect. And so I'm thinking it doesn't, because you can't even pick score streaks in this mode. As you succeed on objectives in the map, they give you, they call them supply drops, and you can get like flamethrowers, for example. And so that's another thing I really liked. But yeah, the objectives are really cool. Like the first one, let's say I'm attacking. The first one is you capture a building, then you have to build a bridge. So you're literally tossing down smoke grenades, like diving in there, trying to build this bridge as fast as possible, while the defending team's got like 2 MG turrets. They got snipers raining down on you. It's really intense. After that, you have to plant a bomb and blow up an ammo depot. And then next is like the final push, and you got to get your tank into enemy lines and blow up their supplies. Like once you reach a certain point, you see a cutscene and it blows up all their supplies. So it's, like I said, it reminds me a lot of I'd say Walker Assault in a way from Battlefront. You're trying to get like point A to point B and like guide it along the way. It's like escorting the payload in Overwatch, but in Call of Duty terms. And like I said, as long as it doesn't count against the overall KD, this is an excellent mode, and these are excellent changes, because it kind of puts that like sacrifice of war where like everyone's diving on the point, rather fantasizing it in a way, I should say.
Yeah.
And so I just gotta say it was really fun. I had a good time. Like I played for 5 hours. I think that says a lot.
Nice.
It took a couple of matches to get the rust off, but yeah, it was a good time. Good time.
Man.
Well, now that makes me. Now I'm sitting here contemplating what review I can delay. So I can go play. I'm seriously, that's what I've been doing this entire time.
Yeah,
I'm like,
the only jarring thing, it was really cool. The cool touch is you pick a division when you start up the multiplayer mode.
That's what fucking Destructoid's talking about is divisions right now.
Yeah, you pick like infantryman, you pick airborne or whatever, and let's say I pick airborne, that's like the SMG classes. And so within that division, as you use it more, you get little bonuses to it. So you'll get like, I think in airborne, once you hit rank 2 for it, you'll get like extended sprint distances or something along those lines. But mind you, once you level up, you get an unlock token, so you can switch to another division almost instantly. But yeah, the only jarring thing, which like I said, it was a cool touch, but it was weird, was when you're picking these divisions, they have like a little recruitment video on the bottom right corner that's playing, and each one of them's different. They're like, welcome to the infantrymen, and like it's all official and stuff, but like there's color in the video. They had these like little what's it called, film grain, but yet the picture is in color. It's really clear looking too. So it's like, all right, I see what they're going for. This is awesome. This is like a recruitment video. I'm choosing what part of the army I want to join or whatever. But then like it instantly goes back on itself because it's in color. And like I said, it's in really clear quality. So, and it's in contrast to like what we saw in World at War, where those graphics, those film grain videos were like old school shit. It was really cool. But like, really kind of a minor nitpick. It was a cool touch. But yeah, that's about all I have to say on the World War II beta. So, are you guys excited more or less because of that?
Oh no, I don't know about divisions, but I'm excited more just from listening to you talk. I'm not a big fan of the modern versus futuristic versus boots on the ground kind of stuff. I don't care as long as it's fun. So that doesn't impress me as much. But my favorite is, strangely enough, World at War, which is what one? Which is
Pod 5.
What would Pod 5? Dude, Keith or Sutherland.
Yeah.
Show up in my games, baby.
Yeah,
I love that.
This is the only problem with World War II. Yeah, I wanted to go through. This is the October-November period. Yeah, I mean, the amount of games, right?
So
Middle
ridiculous.
Earth: Shadow of War, Evil Within 2, WWE 2K. I want to play that. Destiny 2 on PC, AC Origins, Super Mario Odyssey, Wolfenstein 2, Call of Duty World War 2, then Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like, how the fuck are we gonna be able to play all this? Like this. Honestly, 2017 is one of the best years in gaming I've seen in a while.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, go buy some Limitless drug, fucking stay up only 3 hours a day. Just do nothing but games. It's awesome. What a cool it is. There's a ton, but what a cool problem to have. I mean,
it's such a first world problem.
It's a good point that it's a good year, because I just recently heard somebody say it's a bad year, and I was like, dude, I'm playing XCOM War of the Chosen. It's so stupidly good that so it's like games. And that's
we're seeing Halo Wars 2's getting an expansion too. That looks
I know,
good.
I saw that as well. And it's just it's going to be one of those years where we look back and probably it'll be hard to come up with the games that stood above, because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of really good games as well. So it'll be one of those ones where I think like Game of the Year will be fun to hear what other people are choosing.
Everyone's going to have a different game, dude.
Everyone's going to have
exactly. Or it'll be the recent game. Like that's what happens.
It is going to be insane.
I mean, what have we had? We've had Breath of the Wild. We've had Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona. Hellblade, Nier, like crazy.
And honestly, I'm not joking. XCOM's that good. For many people, I have a feeling that'll be a Game of the Year. Like, it's that good.
Is it an expansion or is it DLC?
It's just like Enemy Unknown. It takes the game and then explodes it out, so you replay the same scenario, but then you have added scenario. Yeah, so it's like, and they're mixed in. And let me tell you, so without getting into any spoilers, it's called War of the Chosen because the game Shadow of War's it. That's why in the review I call it Shadow of War: The Choosing, because it takes 3 bad guys. It randomizes these bad guys and makes them uber bad guys, but they show up randomly in your missions with huge cutscenes. So like, you'll be in a normal mission, will be like, save the kids on a bus or whatever, and you're saving them, you're almost done, and then you'll hear like, and this fucking assassin, I called her Cottage Cheese Face, she's the ugliest chick I've ever seen. She's this alien, she shows up, and then she proceeds to somersault your fucking dudes to death. Like, you're just like, no, don't kill him. And so you go from being like, I'm the king of the world, to what the fuck is happening? And And then you have to gather knowledge, and just like in Shadow of War, if they leave the battle and you don't kill them, they gain knowledge as well. And over time, they create these events in the game world. So if they gain enough knowledge, they learn about XCOM, and so suddenly they'll shut down travel and stuff like that. It is
That's cool.
It is insanely detailed.
XCOM 2 was on my Game of the Year list last year. So
well, then War of the Chosen is something you want to play as soon as you get a chance.
Oh boy,
too many games.
Yeah, dude. Awesome. There's a game I'm reviewing now. I won't say what that I am. Oh my. Ugh. And so, yeah. Let's go ahead and we're at 2
Is it the one we talked about?
Yes. Yeah, just head nods.
I've got to ask you a question about that. Remind me before we go, too.
Yeah.
I have a question about coverage.
Let's go ahead and wrap it up now. Then we're 2 hours, 10 minutes in. I think we're out of news anyway. So,
go to collab mode. Collab mode is Lone's YouTube channel. He's got like 850 YouTubers. No, I'm just joking.
There's
he really
a lot.
does have so many.
Which, yeah, it is a ton. People should go. We forgot to do the 2-minute brief, but
fuck, we did.
I'll keep harassing people, like people that are a part of it, to promote it. I hate being that guy, but
no, it's
it's awesome.
It's necessary.
And I don't even think people understand what you guys are doing. I mean, it's pretty fucking cool. Like, I just got done watching the Warframe one.
Yeah.
It's just very, very fucking cool that you guys are all doing it. And once again, it's a bunch of YouTubers together that actually like one another, which is positive.
Very true.
People should go subscribe.
So, link to that will be in the description. Please check that out if given the chance. It's a good time. I think.
What are you doing next week, Matty? Real quick, you got to answer. The review. Is there anything other than that review?
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Do you have your videos identified for like your talking videos, or do you not?
I usually wait till like, since it's a weekend, I take weekends off with like scheduled videos. So usually Monday I'll wake up and just check the news and see, okay, what am I talking about? I don't know, because this week was busy for me. This week was really busy between like balancing the whole demonetization thing. I finally got my car back. It's been in the shop for so long. Got some new comics. I picked up Fire Emblem, which then all of a sudden I got a review code dropped on me, so that was kind of pointless. But like I was running errands and shit a lot this week and trying to balance out this whole YouTube thing. And now I'm reviewing a certain game. So yeah, I've been busy this week. So next week, I don't know what I'm doing. I might just be kicking it low, to tell you the truth.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, you got XCOM War of the Chosen?
Yeah.
Yeah, play it.
What about you guys?
Nothing for me. I don't review games anymore.
Yeah, I'm streaming Assassin's Creed 2 all weekend and just doing videos.
Cool. Oh, Assassin's Creed 2.
I need to play the Ezio trilogy, so I'm doing AC2, which I've already played, and then I want to finish Brotherhood and Revelations before AC Origins. That's my goal at a minimum.
Okay, so here's the thing, though, dude, and I'm not joking. Have you done Rogue? Because it's fantastic and short.
Mm-hmm.
I need to. Like, dude, I've always said that I want to just not replay, but go through and play all the Assassin's Creed games that I've missed, and I've missed a lot because there's been a lot. But I need to start somewhere, and I thought I need to. I replayed 1, doing 2. Gonna do the Ezio trilogy, and then it may. I doubt that I'll have time to do anything else beyond that. But after I've done AC Origins, then I know I can go back and play the other ones, because this is theoretically going to be the start of the Assassin's Creed franchise. So where better place to start?
Yeah, see, for me, my issue with going back and replaying before a game comes out is like, okay, I'll use Danganronpa as an example. Is that you get this series fatigue, and then you play the new game, you're like, God damn. Like, you almost don't want to play it.
But you just need to space it out carefully.
Yeah, you have to be precise with it. Like, Danganronpa games, they're like 40 hours each, and I'd have to play 2 Ultra Despair Girls and watch both the anime arcs over again before it comes out, which I've already done before, but, like, I'd have to do that in about a month now. And I could do it, but, like, well, I'm balancing games.
One of the best things to do?
Summary videos on YouTube.
Not just summary videos, but usually when you go to like the fan wikis for a franchise, they sum up the story pretty well.
Yeah.
I just read that shit before I play the next game.
But it just feels so much better when you play it through. You're like, yeah,
I know.
I'm a true fan. Like, I'm here again, bitch.
It.
You know, so that's the one thing that that always backs me off of sometimes they're playing games before a new one comes out. Like, I was going to do that Wolfenstein. I looked at it and I was just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm just going to watch a summary.
Yeah, Wolfenstein, is, like, it's just all the same, really. Like, Wolfenstein 2 is fun, although I had issues playing with it, but it's just shootings, you know, Nazis, which is exactly what it's meant to be, but it's not like you're getting Nazis. Much more.
There goes the monetization on this video.
Monetization?
Yep, there it goes. Thanks, dude. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Got to answer Karak's question. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this 2 hour and 15-minute episode. The hashtag for the week is...
Too many games.
Have we done that one before?
Have we? I don't even know anymore.
Utility shower.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, exactly. Utility shower. There you go.
All right, perfect.
That's such a great one.
Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. If you listen this far, tweet at any of the handles you see on screen with the hashtag utility shower, and we will catch you next time around.
Peace out.